Oh, it's episode 2 of the 2025 series of alleged Doctor Who. And here on Who's Views, it's time for Lux. Ah, Lux. I have that soap. It's rather nice. It really does whip up into a real, frothy, luxury lather. Unlike this lot.
$1.58 million UK viewers tune in to Doctor Who on the night for Lux. And Lux, therefore, becomes the least watched Doctor Who episode ever. Now, why do I get the feeling I'm going to be saying this every week after last week's Robot Revolution? That's going to be the same introduction, isn't it? Well, hello, Who viewers. Welcome to Who's Views Reviews. This is our review of Lux. Happy Easter, everybody. Hope you've had a lovely day. Happy Easter, Third Doctor Ian. Happy Easter, Emilio.
Happy Easter.
Oh, listen, here we go then with our review of Lux. Come into the chat, everybody, because we want to know what you're thinking of. I mean, I was saying on Live at 6, guys, this is a really embarrassing time to be a Doctor Who fan. Who'd have thunk this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it takes some figuring out, doesn't it, how it's got to this state. You know, some of us, excluding Emilio here, some of us, remembered it when it felt like it was dragging its corpse through the mid to late 80s and was getting way more than this and was really better stories as well. And and then we've got to this, the dizzy heights that this new series achieved around 2010 to 2012. To think that it would be plunging this far is horrendous, and it's embarrassing, but it's kind of funny as well, because that blubberish Welsh buffoon is going to put some spin on it, isn't he? He's going to say something that it's all part of the plan or whatever, and it's wonderful and all the rest that he usually trots out. But there's nothing that can spare this from being an absolute embarrassing humiliation. Really, it's just, oh my life.
X-Man 577 agrees with you, Ian. I'm sure RTD will blame us for not watching his woke BS, the lowest rating in Doctor Who history. And hello to Mike C32001, he says in the Captain Kirk style. It's sheer hubris to put out an episode that deconstructs Doctor Who and breaks the fourth wall when the actual show is falling apart. Nicely said, Mike C32001. Stephen Braddock, hello, mate. Hope you've had a lovely day. Happy Easter. They broke Doctor Who last night. And hello and welcome to Who's Views, to Zara Thrustrasite. Hope I've said that right. Nice to see you. At this point, who is watching this spiteful shite with genuine enjoyment? 50% at least are tuning in only out of morbid curiosity. That leaves only approximately 750,000 RTD acolytes. We can't even tell either, everybody, how long people are staying watching the episode, really. Not 100%,
No.
So... oh, I don't know. It's a bit worrying for me. I'm just thinking, it's a sad time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Nice to see you. Kev Gresham's with us saying Happy Easter. So is Rory and Shella and friends too. Welcome to our Doctor Who Fix of the Week, says the Forbidden Man. Oh, well, that is so lovely. Thank you so much. That's nice to know. Yeah. And it's nice to know you're with us as we're going through this, honestly. Legion of James is with us again. Mike Disney is saying even in all. Bill Lowry's with us. Oh, it's great to see you, everybody. Matthew Barrows is saying to us, hello, everybody. I have the stream on my smart TV and I'm chatting on my phone. So I thought it would get 1.8 million. I was too generous. Yeah. Yeah, you were. I think we all were. We're going to come to the results of the ratings game very shortly. Wow, look at everybody joining us. Pile into the chat, everyone. St. Rosie Mead, it's good to see you as well. Robert Payne back with us. And Marine Boy 1966 saying evening again. Noodle Arms. Hello, chat and panel. Hello to you. Happy Easter, everybody. I hope you've had a lovely Easter day. Raymond Williams is saying 1.58 million. The public can spot trash when they see it. RTD can thank God for Doctor Who YouTube channels. The only reason I watched Lux was so I could understand what the babble were talking about. Oh, hello. Excuse me. Mrs. Lisa Pertwee's on again at Third Doctor. Ian, good evening, darling. Mwah. Kissy, kissy, kissy.
I'll take that.
I know, Julianne. Hello. Yes, Dirty Hamble, 1.58. Isn't that awful? It's absolutely terrible. Cody's with us as well. Stephen Braddock with the Don't Make Me Laugh 1.58. Hello, Carl Goddard. Bedweir is saying, didn't watch Lux, but this is the episode where Doctor Who reached rock bottom.
Until next week.
And on Easter weekend, where the weather, wasn't it was decent, but you've got a lot of people that can sit down and watch TV if they want to, and to get those viewings is, really, really embarrassing. And as you were saying, Ian, I think if you were to, I said it to JT before we jumped on live, but it's, if you had asked me when the 50th anniversary showed and it was streaming across all those cinemas and the hype and the news and all of that, to say that in 12 years later, Doctor Who would be getting 1.5 million viewers on overnights. I mean, just the sharp decline over the past 12 years, it's just crazy.
Well, we've touched on it before, haven't we, how history repeats itself. I mean, in 1983 we had the 20th anniversary where Doctor Who was definitely on a peak. Davison was at the height of his popularity, and 5 years later, 18-month hiatus, and but again, a hiatus when it was in a much better state than it is now, and instead of people just accepting, people who can make these decisions at the BBC or whatever, making the right business decision, you've got the likes of the bumbling Welsh oaf going on saying, I'm writing series 3, series 4, series 5. No, it's not. It's delusional. It's absolutely delusional. But you're absolutely right. I mean, you look at the 50th and how it's come now in the space of 12 years. It's quite sad, really. It's quite sad.
And never before in our time, in the original 26-year run, did it ever reach the overnight ratings it's got now. Now, I know the ratings have changed, but this is still, as we're speaking live today on the 20th of April, 2025, Easter Sunday, this is the lowest rated overnight ever. And before you start, people that might come into the chat to defend this, I understand why you would defend it. You're a Doctor Who fan, but so are we. And that's why we're going to be absolutely honest here with our views on this episode last night and what's happening to the show. The overnights do matter, because as we've proved in our ratings analysis with Bedweir on Headlines, one of our other shows, that goes towards the consolidated viewing figure. So it does matter. So the 1.58 will go towards whatever's coming off the back of the iPlayer views. The iPlayer is not a streaming service. Have you noticed how everybody started to call the iPlayer a streaming service? It isn't. It isn't. It's another BBC product. It's not. It's not a streaming service at all. They may want it to be, but they haven't got the model because they're too stupid to listen to what I'm telling them. But, it's not. It's not at all. Mark Greaves is saying, saves your sanity. BBC, please don't bother showing the other 6. You're just embarrassing yourself. In the old days, Mark Greaves, if a show had got this overnight rating, it would be moved instantly to BBC 2.
Easily, yeah.
Like that. BBC One won't do that with Doctor Who because it's still supposedly a big flagship show for them. Flying Car 100 is saying, I hate fourth wall breaks. So do I. It's really jarring what happened last night. We're going to come to that in the show. And thank you to your super chat, John Keeley. Thank you so much. Good evening, gentlemen. A happy Easter to you. Happy Easter to you. I hope you've all had a 1.58 of a good day. Thank you so much, John Keeley. I really appreciate that. And Rory and Cheryl and friends too. Half the viewers were out protesting and smashing statues.
Yes.
True. Yeah. True. Lots of you in the chat with us. Thank you very much. Lovely to see you all. Happy Easter to you all. As you can see, Paul is not with us this evening because he's got to go and work. And I want to say a big happy birthday to Miles. who's not with us because of his birthday. He forgot it was his birthday, everybody. He was so intent. And he'd forgotten that him and his partner were going out tonight for a celebration meal, etc. So happy birthday, Miles, when you catch up. We'll see you again soon. Okay, so I want to read out Paul, as they can't be with us tonight, but he has sent us his review. So before we get onto the show, let me just read this out on behalf of Paul. He says, okay, this is Paul's Lux review. I certainly wasn't lathered up with this episode. Here we go. I thought it had potential to be a creepy episode. I stopped enjoying it when the Doctor and companion turned up. Linus Roach was great, but it was completely wasted. It looks great in terms of production, but you expect that with the budget involved. The introduction of the Doctor being a person of colour in the 1950s is an interesting idea, but probably needs more of a weighty episode for that. I really thought it had jumped the shark, and clearly from the audience ratings, they had 2. 1.58 is near to my prediction for episode 1, and that might be worth half a pencil. No, it's not. I don't want to sound like an old fart white gammon, but the breaking the fourth wall with stereotyped Doctor Who fans was really embarrassing. They were even ticking boxes with that. Then the extremely cheesy bit when the fans survived in the closing titles. The extremely cheesy suggestion that we can't live our lives without it. It seems that RTD can't tell a straight story. The fans section felt forced and unnecessary. It may have been a good episode had the self-awareness not been in it. It feels a bit like 73 Yards started as one thing and then became something else. Another positive was he didn't cry as much, although I thought he was in the animation bit. He's also given us a score out of the 10 for scores on the TARDIS doors, which we'll give out later. And he's got his ratings game predictions there as well. As for the Crying Game. So lots of that stuff there from Paul. So I'm sure you guys will have something to say about that. Let's have a look what Noodle Arms is saying to us here. If it's this bad for an episode that was meant to be hotly anticipated, how bad would the viewings be by the end of the series? Who will be watching? And David Gulvin saying to us, guys, I honestly didn't see how Doctor Who would sink any lower, but RTD managed it with putting in so-called fans and RIP Doctor Who. Yeah. Here we go with Sharda Knox, 1.58 million, the lowest overnights ever. Well, that's all right then. And thank you, Hugh Janus, for your super chat. The Chuck Berry track used came out in 56, not 52. I have seen that on somewhere as well, with somebody criticizing in one of the press releases. We might have it here. They got that wrong, which is a bit concerning when you're thinking they should be doing research. But anyway, we are where we are.
So, wouldn't you? You would hope so. I don't think that. I mean, what did setting it in Florida add to the story? Why couldn't it have been a 1950s cinema in Oldham?
Well, you know why. It's simply because he wanted to talk about the race issue. I mean, we didn't segregate. The United Kingdom history is totally different to America. We didn't segregate. And we weren't as ethnically diverse in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and even the 80s as we are now in the United Kingdom. We're not America. We weren't America. We should never be America. No offense to Americans watching, but our history is different. That's why it would have been nicer if he'd set it in somewhere like Oldham or something like that, in the beautiful old picture houses, cinemas of back in the day.
Yeah, good old Odeon or something like that.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have been able to put in his whole, look at us, would he?
Yes, purely message.
Yeah. Well, they did it in Torchwood. They did it in Torchwood back in the day in the episode Out of the Rain, where they felt it's a basically, again, similar kind of concept where basically these circus guys basically come to life from the film, and then but it's done in an old kind of cinema house in Cardiff, basically.
Obviously, yeah.
For obvious reasons, but it felt a little bit more kind of relatable and a bit more kind of homesome. Whereas you do it in Miami, it's not as British, is it really?
No, and it's honestly, it's totally so that you can say, "Oh, look, we're going to deal with this issue." But I do think it takes something a little bit more adult to do that. That's the only reason it's setting me out. That's what I think, anyway. Did you see, everybody, the article that came out in the Radio Times shortly after the overnight rating on BBC One was announced? We've been talking an awful lot this week on Who's Views about cope, lack of. Here's another one. Look at this. Doctor Who confirms overnight ratings for Lux, lowest in series history. I think this was more or less the same one as last week. They just changed Robot Revolution for Lux. The figure fell below 2 million for the first time ever, despite a warm reception from fans. Hello, Radio Times. It's not going to get a warm reception on this show. It might be a bit tepid. Might be a bit tepid from some people. We'll come to that through the show. Let's carry on. We've got this. The second episode of Doctor Who's 15th season suffered a it lost 500,000 viewers in a week, you morons. With just 1.58 million viewers tuning in to watch Lux on BBC One last night. That's down from the 2 million who watched last week's season premiere, The Robot Revolution, and marks the lowest overnight viewership ratings in the show's history. The first time ever that the figures have dipped below 2 million. Then, of course, it's worth noting that these figures don't tell the whole story, given the figure doesn't take into account anyone who watched the episode on BBC iPlayer, where it debuted at 8 a.m. on Saturday prior to its BBC One broadcast. In total, the episode was only the fourth most watched programme on BBC One on Saturday, behind the News at 10, Casualty and Blankety Blank. Meanwhile, Britain's Got Talent, its direct competition on ITV1, also received more viewers because people weren't watching Doctor Who and they went over to the other side. However, it's not all bad news, given that those who did watch the show appear to have been largely impressed by the episode and its unique animated villain, Mr. Ring-a-Ding-Dong Ding Ding Ding. Now, this is where they go, usually, as I say, guys, onto the social media, don't they, to say, and they look for the favourite ones. Here's a selection, and I saw these on X as well. The artist did such a great job with Mr. Wrong-a-Ding-Ding-Dong-Ding. He has so many amazing images, one fan wrote on X. Each frame is perfect. Another, Hilvian, have to say this is one of the most satisfying resolutions to an episode for a very long time. I can't praise Lux enough. A third fan went even further, calling it hands down the best episode of the new era. Well, that would be difficult. And giving it a rating of 9.5 out of 10. They continued, bonkers concept, stunning visuals, and the Doctor and Belinda's chemistry continues to be brilliant. This is Doctor Who firing on all cylinders. It's wild, it's clever, and totally unique. That one came, of course, from RTD. Lux is hands down the best episode of the new era, bonkers concept, stunning visuals, blah, 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 blah. Well, here we are.
That's almost word for word. That's almost word for word the 1-2 above it. Hands down the best of the new era. Yeah. I mean, do they not even realise it's so obvious? They're back to using AI, aren't they? They're using AI for their own reviews.
Yes. Who was it in the chat that was saying they have these things called bots? Hands up. Hands up who said they had bots, because I'm convinced you're right. Everybody in the chat puts their hands up and I was like, it was me. I think they do. I honestly do. We've got Bedouin saying an updated figure for last week's overnight came out as 2.05 million, so that's an even steeper drop. We're going to be talking more about the ratings, of course, in this week's headlines. Make sure you've subscribed. Make sure you've rung the bell. Are these people huffing drugs, says Problem Bling. Martin Brown saying, not a bad episode, I think, with the low rating. Season 3 should be YouTube only. I think they prefer iPlayer, my friends. I think they would. Who else? What else we got here? We've got Matthew Burrows saying, stop with this pathetic God's drivel. That's a good talking point for us in this episode as well, because I'm so bored with that. And Sadeko is saying to us, I really can't stand the whole bonkers as a form of praise. It's like praising nonsense for being nonsense. Well, that's all they're doing, isn't it? That's what they're doing. Yeah. Just Jordan's joined us as well. And Modehead 101. Question is, how long will these ratings fall? Below 1 million for what could be the final level episode of Doctor Who come May?
Could happen.
They might be forced to do something radical if it goes below 500,000, say, by the middle of the series. They might be forced to pull it. That would be your ultimate humiliation for RTD.
Wouldn't it?
Because the BBC have got to consider what's embarrassing for them. You know, it's a flagship program in a flagship slot on a Saturday, and it's getting that. They'd be better off pulling it and putting repeats of the test card on. That'll probably pull more viewers.
And don't forget, it was on later this week. And of course, The Well, which is the third episode, is on later as well by 5 minutes. So these are good times on a Saturday night. These are good times. It just shows you that the British public, as we've been saying here for quite some time, don't care. I want to say thank you to Mark Greaves for your super chat. Thank you very much. BBC had 2 franchises they could sell worldwide, Top Gear and Doctor Who, and through their diversity crap, they destroyed both. Thankfully, we have you guys. Oh, that's nice. Thank you so much, Mark. Appreciate that. I also appreciate this super chat from Jason Parker. Thank you for that. And there's one from PTA there as well, from Paul Thomas Ashworth. It was the fakest acting I've ever seen. It was dreadful. I have to say, the acting wasn't for me either, PTA. It really wasn't. And we've got another one from Problem Being here, 1.58, the best 50th birthday present, which is tomorrow. Oh, well, happy birthday, Problem Being. Happy birthday for tomorrow, mate.
Happy birthday.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Happy birthday.
Absolute legend.
I didn't know it was his birthday tomorrow. Hope you got the day off. But good to see you all, and thank you all for your
blind. He was 26.
You are. Oh, don't push it, creep. Right. So thank you for all that. Let's get on to this now. So that was that for. I mean, what do you guys think about what the Radio Times is saying there, and this level of cope that's coming through here?
I think they're just clutching.
I think you see it all the time, don't you? Go on, Emilio. Go.
So I was just going to say that I think they're clutching at jaw by trying to bring in, kind of fan positivity. Look, personally, I actually thought in this new RTT2 era, this is actually an okay episode in comparison to all the other pile of crap that has been landed on our doorstep. There was a lot of stuff that I agree with what Paul kind of mentioned, and we'll go into it in more detail. But yeah, basically, I just think that it's obviously very selective in the kind of fan that they want to present as liking this, where they're not reading out the many tweets that you can see on my Twitter of people clearly disappointed with the level of quality in terms of the writing, and really good constructive feedback that I see on my Twitter feed. They're not going to show that, so no surprise. They're basically just doing what they can to try and present that it's okay. Basically, it's just it's survival tactic.
It is, isn't it? Because that old saying here, no publicity is bad publicity, doesn't count. Because if you're going to put up bad publicity, you have to have a Wonder Woman type spin. And by goodness, this is bad. Reporting into the public domain, Doctor Who has only had 1 point. Even the Notwees are going to come along and go, oh, nobody's watching it. And there's nothing to tempt them. We've got Mr. Mark. Hello, Mr. Mark. Nice to see you. Cute little doggy there. Just an unwatchable show, and I can watch anything. It's not fun or interesting. Sad the problem is still there. Nothing redeeming. And Duncan the Funky Evans saying, I gave up at 28 minutes and decided to watch episode 1 of Bergerac. Oh, I hope you're getting into it, because I loved that. 6 episodes of Bergerac on You. Absolutely cracking. Toby Whithouse, the showrunner producer we should have had, would have done a better job than who, honestly, but too busy now because he's been commissioned for a second series of Bergerac, so good for him. Lots of you in the chat with us, so thank you very much. Oh, and look, everybody's saying happy birthday to Problem Being as well. George is saying the copium from fans is crazy, and Jane Smear said even Moffat has now said ordinary people don't care about the wokery. Yeah, and that's why the show's going down, though, isn't it? It's got such a bad reputation, Ian.
That's Moffat. That's Moffat trying to save his own career, though. He's just trying to jump ship again, just so he stays relevant. The fact of the matter is, he's part of the problem and has been part of the problem probably since day one. Really, he was responsible for putting in motion some of the stuff that led to Missy and the feminization of the Master, and then the feminization of the Doctor. And just the way the whole thing went, he's part of the problem, and I think he's probably just looking after himself, as probably always. To be fair, I think.
Well, yeah. Well, it did start with him. You've got to admit that was at series 10, wasn't it, when you started noticing things? And you said, "Oh, hang on a minute," and then all that thing with Clara really got on my nerves. It was the Clara show, wasn't it? For a little while.
She was toxic. She was toxic. That was feminine toxicity, wasn't it? I mean, the amount of times she physically threatened the problem with violence and actually carried it out as well.
Yeah. The problem with it, though, Ian, was it was written by a fella, and his opinion of what femininity should be. What a blooming hypocrite, as we know they all are. Wild Hunter looks was potentially so good, but they managed to grab defeat from the jaws of victory. Garbage is saying to everybody, please like the show. Yeah, please do. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe, ring that bell. We've also got Andy Gledhill with us. Hi, Andy. I do hope that this crap drops out of the BARB top 50 shows. I've got a feeling it might do, but that's just me. Were the fans as bad as WizKid from The Greatest Show in the Galaxy? Worse. Yes, worse. We will
They
be
were
coming to
way
that,
worse.
I'm sure. And Garbage is reminding me that, if you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at whosviews1@gmail.com. Whosviews1@gmail.com. Please remember, it's taken me a little bit of time to get back to you all because the old mailbag, as we used to call it, is bulging. It really is. It's great to see you all, by the way. Saint 194, the dialogue is so jarring. It's unrealistic. No one would speak like that in these situations. It takes you out of the story as a viewer. I have to say, I agree with that. What is he doing? I mean, for me, this was so boring. This was really boring. And I've forgotten it already. Because for me, this was just the devil's board all over again and repeated, even down to the same shot of them going into the wardrobe room, and all this sort of stuff. Music playing, the wrong music, as we now know as well. Another God thing.
Yeah.
It was the same episode for me. And it was such a shame because RTD has some nice ideas. And I looked at this thing and I thought, that's a nice idea. That's a nice idea. There were about 4 or 5 nice ideas, but too much for one episode. What is he doing, guys? Why doesn't he just take 2 strands and write a story?
That's what a script editor would do, though, isn't it? They'd say, oh, no, you've got too many ideas in this. Forget that. Just keep this, keep that, expand those and try and take it in that direction. But he's got no oversight, has he? So he immediately thinks anything he spews out on a piece of paper is absolute gold and puts it straight out. There's no checks or balances. So he's just spewing it all out. It's a mess. And he wrote it at the same time as we know as series 1. So the fact that he's repeating so many tropes in this series, it's not like a year's passed between writing them. He was writing them at the same time, so he'd have known he was repeating himself, but he's done it anyway. Does he think we're stupid? Well, we know he thinks we're stupid, doesn't he? But honestly.
Would you agree with that, Amelia? What were your thoughts on what I've just said there?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think RTD, I felt that I kind of split this episode into three parts.
Okay.
3 kind of chapters. And I thought the first part he actually did very, very well. I thought the setting was great. I thought the cold open was brilliant. I thought I was actually sitting there for 15-20 minutes going, oh, I'm actually relatively enjoying this episode. And then obviously it got to the point where they go into the into animation, and then that's where it locked me again. Like Paul said, it was kind of the 73 yards thing again, of it just went in a completely different direction, and then all of a sudden you're back to the cinema for the third part, and you basically lost all of the kind of atmosphere, the tension. The villain had kind of just Mr. Ringading had basically disappeared for like for that kind of middle section of the episode. So my personal thinking was he didn't have any ideas about the second part of that episode. He didn't know how to build on what he had done, so he got bored and went off to do this kind of meta analysis of fans, or he just wanted to, because he just wanted to show off and thinks he's too clever. And to your point, Ian, then that, you need a script editor to go, maybe there's an episode you could do about meta, but that's not where it best plays here. What you need to do is build on the threat that you have just set up, so that you can have a good payoff in the final part. And he didn't do that, and so I would say this was probably the best 50. The first part was the best 15 to 20 minutes of RTD2 era, and then the rest of it was just, it lost me. It lost me because I was really invested for that first 15 to 20 minutes. And I will also say this: even though he did have the stuff about racism, I actually thought he handled the Doctor and Belinda quite well in that situation. He actually restrained himself from going. I thought actually it was actually well done, the kind of segregation, but he did bring it up a little bit too much in a few lines after the diner. But yeah, anyways, we'll go into that in a bit. But I actually thought it was relatively well handled.
I do agree with that one. I was expecting a little bit more, but as I said at the top of the show, I know for a fact the only reason they put this into Miami at that time period is because the 2 leads are of color. And I was a bit worried about what was coming about that. So I quite like the fact that Nshuti's playing was very subtle, where the Doctor looks at his hand and reminds himself now. That was quite nicely done. It was very subtle. It could have been worse, and I can't compare it to that other thing, the Rosa thing they did in Chibnall's era, because I don't know it. So maybe we'll get to that as well. Andrew Roberts is saying in the chat, if the show does go on hiatus, I don't think it's an if now, personally, Andrew. I think it's when. We can only hope that during that time, everything woke, DEI, or agenda-driven is got rid of, so the series can come back with none of that baggage. Totally agree. It could take some time, though. It really could.
It's the BBC, isn't it? It's endemic there. So it's not just Doctor Who you're having to root it out of. You're having to get it out of that entire organisation, which is way too big and needs breaking down. Huge chunks of the BBC just need to go.
That's what they did. That's what they supposedly did 15, 20 years ago. The problem we've also got as well is that, unfortunately, this nonsense, this far left ideology has worked itself into our education system. And we've now got young people coming out to school thinking there's more than two genders, that a woman can have a penis. You could see that by yesterday's ridiculous nonsense where thousands of ill-informed idiots turned up in London. Oh goodness me, how shocking. And a lot of them young, they believe in non-binary because they've been told by adults in schools, these idiot teachers and lecturers, people who are supposed to be looking after the children, they've lied to children, and that's going to come in. So some of them will invariably go into show business, which is captured by this nonsense. Also,
it's society as a whole. I think it's education, it's TV, it's the whole thing. But you are starting to see a pushback against it, and I think, as you said, JT, it will take time to reverse, because this stuff has actually been entrenched in society and have been building for quite a significant period of time. It's not going to change overnight, but I think we will move to a direction, hopefully in 20 to 30 years, where a lot of this stuff is we'll look back on it and go, bloody hell, how crazy was everybody.
Well, yeah, but I mean, can Doctor Who last 20 years off screen? Personally, I don't think so. Interesting where that's coming. Mark Greaves, thank you for your super chat. What idiot came up with stored regeneration energy that he now can use anytime he wants? How about using it to fix that broken tear duct? I noticed this. This is what woke me up. I noticed this and thought, didn't RTD, who introduced this nonsense back in the Christmas invasion, say it was in a particular amount of hours, the first 24 hours or something?
Yeah. After regenerating our Christmas invasion, he could only do it then, basically. So, which to be fair, it wasn't in the law before, but personally, I think that that can make logical sense in your head. But yeah, it removes all the jeopardy. I think that's the problem, and the Doctor becomes invincible, which they kind of already had done with the Timeless Child and all of that kind of stuff anyway in Jodie's era. But and even in Capaldi, the fact that he can just fake regeneration, it's been something that's been going on for ages. There's no if the Doctor can just heal himself whenever he wants, then why should you bother watching? Because
exactly.
There's no danger anymore. He can't die anymore because he can just bang. They've messed around with the regeneration as an excuse to get them out of a poorly written script and an idea. And this meta regeneration, I mean, but what did he call it? Bi-generation energy on this. Oh, get a grip, Russell. Please get back in the doghouse. Why are people still employing him? He's not the writer you think he is. Look at his Doctor Who stuff. It's absolute crap. We've got Demorpin as well saying to us here. Thank you, Demorpin. The moment when she said we did him, i.e. Rock Hudson, in nursing class, bless his heart, the line, the delivery, just abominable. It did seem a little bit forced.
Yeah, about that. I mean, I'm not sure. I am going to ask some people that'll know, but I'm not sure whether or not they do discuss Rock Hudson when they're discussing HIV in their training. I will ask, but it amazes me that she was fully au fait with who Rock Hudson was and the fact that he died of age-related illnesses with HIV and everything, and yet when he said to her that this was America and they had segregation, it was like she'd never heard of it. It was like that was news to her. It was like, what?
True.
What? I thought, seriously, are you an idiot? already knowing the answer to that. It's just it didn't. Some things she knows, some things she doesn't know. It just seems it's just whatever's convenient for the script, isn't it?
Totally.
Yeah.
And where to put where the script can possibly go down the sort of route that he wants it to go down to, which will be the the agenda that he has there, which is why I'm surprised that bit at the cinema it didn't go further, to be honest. Owly was 0014. I enjoyed the premise, but it fell apart again from the cartoon bit. That's what you were saying as well, Emilio. And Steve Black is saying, imagine enjoying it and Gatwa comes through your screen. It's enough to make you cry. It scared the crap out of me, I have to tell you. Ken's UK Adventures, another nice little doggy. Look at this. Thank you for joining us. Has anyone mentioned about Mrs. Flood saying at the end, after telling them the TARDIS is a show to watch, that it's a limited run? The show ends May the 24th, not the season, the show. I've seen some fans looking at that today. I wouldn't read too much into that because that's the date the series ends, and that's what they mean. And also, we saw at the end of Robot Revolution the fact that the Earth has been effectively destroyed on May the 24th, and that's why you can't get it back in. It's not the message isn't very well out there, but I have seen some fans today, Ken's UK Adventures, go, "Oh my God, it's coming up!" I wouldn't read too much into it personally.
Can I hit a nip? I actually was thinking about it. There is a massive plot hole in this whole season, in the fact
Only
that
one.
there's many plot holes, but one of them is that why doesn't the Doctor just fly to like May the 23rd or whatever, and then you land the TARDIS there, or land on May the 26th afterwards? You've not even tried to go close to the date, if that makes sense. So it's clearly not, again, a script episode. So maybe we should cover that at the beginning, show that he's trying to get back to even the day before and it's still not working. Right. But they don't even bother to give you that.
It's a good point.
Detail.
It is a good point. Why not go to the day before, and then she can stay in the TARDIS with him for at least a day until he finds out. Yeah, it's an excellent point.
I think as well, JT, sorry, you just read out one, didn't you, from Ken's UK Adventures?
I did, yeah.
He has subsequently left us because he then made a comment saying, this is a transphobic channel, bye. And
that's fine.
He's obviously thinking that this is an airport departure lounge because he needs to announce his departure. He doesn't. It's a YouTube channel, and he's gone.
We're a British channel, and we abide by the British laws. And this week, the Supreme Court has clarified that trans women are not women, trans men are not men. If you don't like it, tough. That's Britain for you. We are full of reality. In some cases, but unfortunately not in Doctor Who. Andrew Roberts is saying 2 questions in the episode that weren't answered. Who chained up the cinema and why? And if Pi had been in the cinema for all that time, how did he eat and drink? Mark Milford is giving us a super chat. Thank you, Mark. 1950s Miami's black community was vibrant and culturally rich. Black-owned businesses, jazz clubs, hotels and restaurants, and importantly, black-operated movie theatres and entertainment venues. Oh, really? So what was Russell saying then, that the TARDIS had brought him to a pale-skinned area? See, this is where I don't know enough about American history. I know it was a terrible time for all this segregation and what have you, but we in Britain didn't have this. Not at all. So we can't really relate to this. So why it's in Doctor Who in the first place, as you were saying at the top of the show, Ian, I'm really not quite sure, apart from just trying to push his agenda, push the message, to highlight the fact that it's 2 leads. And I'm now absolutely 100% convinced, Who viewers, that was done deliberately. And Paul O'Malley Gibson was pushed out in favour of Aradu Setu for this reason. That's the only reason I can think of. Silver Wolf, remember there's only so much bad TV people will watch. That's why 420,000 people left, and definitely will be more next week. If it keeps going this bad, you might be the only ones watching it at the end. Oh, God. And James Smith saying, I agree, Emilio. I enjoyed the beginning, the cartoon bit, and how they got out of it. It was more emotional nonsense, and then it got worse. There is something else that I think is now absolutely 100% not attracting the viewers. And I do think it's Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor, because, again, yesterday I couldn't see the Doctor again. All that nonsense in the TARDIS, all the language that Russell T Davies has given, the performance in general. I think it's off-putting, and I think that's part of the reason why people aren't watching the show now. I think it's more ironically Who than any others, really, apart from Whittaker. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I'm going to disagree actually on this. I actually thought that when Gat was best episode. I actually think he acts a lot better when he is more restrained and he's not trying to be this bubbly. When he plays it the Doctor a little bit more straight, he does it a lot better. I actually thought the scene. So I actually like when we come to the diner scene when he basically, Belinda's a bit aft about the whole kind of, segregation thing. And then I think the writing was very good in actually showing that, hey, the Doctor, like, they'll catch up to where you are in your time. And, I just carry on doing what I'm doing, right? I shine basically, which I thought gave a good characterization to the Doctor that, hey, like the racism thing doesn't bother him. He's not going to start getting all, complaining about it because it's just part of the time period, and he's just focused on what he needs to do. So I thought that was good, and also like the reassurance he gave the mum in the diner as well. That was very, very kind of Doctor-like, and there were a few parts compared to the Devil Crawled last year, which is a good link, where his reaction was, no, take me, save Belinda, or he was very much the characterization, maybe probably the best way, was more doctory than he has had in the writing, but also I think when he's more subtle and he's more restrained, he does it better. But is he anywhere near Peter Capaldi's, being able to show a range in his acting? No. But does he work better? Does he come closer to what the Doctor is in this episode than any of the other episodes? I would say yes. Take away the honeys and the babes and some of the stuff that RTD deliberately putting in, I think it was a better performance from Gatwa in this episode than the ones I had seen previously.
Okay. I think I can completely respect that, Emilio. I mean, it's not my personal feeling, but then that's what's great about here, isn't it? We can express our views and opinions, and everybody's right, nobody's wrong. And but I mean, from being unlike you, who is consumed by the vigors of youth, I'm an old git. I'm a very old git, and when you've grown up with Pertwee and then Baker, and then you look at this, you do not see anything that is even accidentally a Doctor, and he just doesn't do it for me in the same way she didn't do it previously, and sadly a lot of the way that Capaldi was written for didn't do it either. And I think Capaldi knew exactly what he needed to do, but he just didn't have the ability or the opportunity to do it, which is a crying shame. But I just think they doubled down on what they wanted to do, and it's been an absolute blessed failure, and it's not going to go anywhere now. But I see nothing that's all that. I'm Velma. Oh my good God! Honestly, is that because that's supposed to be? That's supposed to be. I mean, that was one of Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo used to be innocent fun. We all saw it. We grew up with Scooby-Doo. It's been in various iterations for decades. But you get to the noughties, and of course, Velma's the one that they make gay, don't they? Because they have to, don't they? So of course, seeing as though it's that one, that's who he is. So he's saying, I'm Velma. So he's basically saying, I'm the gay one. I mean, like we didn't bloody know already. We could have guessed already. And that running around to go in the changing room and coming out the other door, and the both got changed or whatever, presumably in the same room, because who Christ knows what their genders are. So, they probably get changed in the same room, don't they? And he's doing the leg kicks again and all this rubbish and running out. It's just embarrassing. It could be a program in its own right where it's meant to be like that, but it's unfortunately is what they've made Doctor Who into. And it's, take away the logo, take away the police box, and this is not Doctor Who at all.
And that's what I think is happening with the UK public, especially because even if they tune in very quickly, they can't see a recognisable Doctor. They don't get that feeling of Doctor Who. No. I don't get the feeling of Doctor Who as a long-standing fan. It doesn't feel like Doctor Who. It's not coming out of me. out to me from the screen that this is Doctor Who. Doctor Who used to have, even the early reboot versions of this, and some of the Moffat ones had that feeling of mystery and suspense and danger and excitement and energy, which was a Doctor Who unique energy. It's not there in this one. This is just real shallow. Timesaver 93 is saying to us, I feel sorry for the talented crew having to work on this crap. We do as well. We said big hello to them last week. So big hello to them again this week, because the thing does look quite good. Although again, for me, it doesn't look like Doctor Who. It's too glossy. Last night was too glossy for me. You know, it looked too Disney, really. And Matthew Burrows is saying Shooty has no range. Duncan the Funky Evans is saying to us, the moral I got from this story is don't use drawing pins on your posters. Okay. Saint 194 is saying yes, Queen, babes, honey, the body language, the crying. I've got to say I'm not feeling Shooty as the Doctor, laughing at someone's life being cleaned away by a robot and not getting a second chance, etc., etc. And Owly 0014, there's no gravitas or sense of the Doctor. He's just a gay person playing the idea of who the Doctor is. And OMG, the crying is getting difficult to understand. Hi everyone, I've just arrived. Hello, High Desert 004. Haven't watched the new season and I won't. How often has he cried now? Well, that's where we're going to find out, because on this show now we have actually introduced something, haven't we, which is called the crying game. So let's have a look at that right now. Well, last week on our Robot Revolution crying game, we asked the question to the panel, how many times do you think the Doctor will cry this week? I can tell you that Miles said he's going to cry twice. Ian, you went for 3 times. Emilio, you went for 1. Paul went for 2. And I went for 3 as well. Now, according to our data, he cried once. Is that right, everybody? I have forgotten the episode. It was so boring. But it seems that he had cried once. Or do we include the animation where he may have cried as well? I don't know. Let's see what you're saying in the chat. There was a single tear streams down his cheek. Somebody's dog's not happy.
That's mine.
Alliance was saying to us, books will be written about the failure of Doctor Who. Totally. This is now Doctor Who history. You're going to get big tomes in the future about why it failed and why it went off again. Legion of James, on what Amelia was saying, I would say Gatwa only got close to being like New Who Doctors, but only in their least proper Doctor-like moments. Yeah, okay.
I would agree with him on that.
Anyone telling us, are we right with just 1? Hello, Gordon Webster. Nice to see you. Are we right with just 1? Please tell me in the chat. There's a lot of you in the chat this evening. Hello. Good to see you. We're going down to 1.
Who, where? We have somebody in the chat called Who, where. They're saying twice.
Is that theirs? Was it twice?
Forbidden Man saying twice as well.
Right. So let's go with what's
Magic Stew is saying 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh gosh, I don't know. Here we go. Poor Rose is saying twice in the episode, the non-animated, and again in the teaser, not including the teaser.
Yeah.
I remember him cry. I'm going to go with once then. Steph with us. Hello, Steph. I'm going to go with once. Magic Stew is saying 1 as well. I'm going to say 1. I wasn't sure if the cartoon had. One obvious and the second was a happy tear. Oh. See, we're all confused.
Yeah. It was more subtle, probably because it was so subtle this week that it wasn't, didn't zoom in on him, deliberately showing him crying.
I think it was CGI added as well.
But the first subtle thing he's done, though, won't it? Really?
Yeah.
If we're honest.
Oh, it's hard to tell, but I think it was once. Oh, in the animation and a tear with the fans, says Bedweir. Oh gosh.
Oh, we might have cried with the fans actually when they were going to die. Yeah, thinking about it, I just can't bring myself to watch.
Well,
it again.
I'm going to make an executive production decision. We're going for twice. Davey Heitman, nice to see you. If Doctor Who somehow gets a new series, the writers should write an episode called "The Doctor Cries." That would be a good one to come back with, everybody, wouldn't it? Well, yeah, we're going to go with Twice then, everybody. Paul Rose is saying Twice. Yeah, let's go with that one. Hello, Brian Mason. How are you? I can't answer that one. I didn't watch it. We'll go for Twice then. So that means Miles said 2, Ian said 3, Emilio said 1, Paul said 2, and I said 3. So it means that Miles and Paul got the crying game right for last week. So well done to them. Now, unfortunately, they don't win the crying game prize because neither of them have the name Wilson. And it was the Wilson that was going to be winning. And let's see, everybody, what they could have won. Yes, they could have won a lifetime supply of Lux soap in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 luxurious different things, brand, or well, flavors, whatever you want to call them. What do you call them? Scents. Yes, they could have won that. So Miles and Paul, because your name isn't right, sorry, you don't win that star prize. Oh, what a shame, everybody.
They'll be so disappointed.
Life's so harsh.
Disappointed. They will be disappointed. Staying with games, let's have a look and see who got the ratings game right last week. We're going to be playing the ratings game again in this show later on in the show, so stay with us. But last week, Paul went lower with 1.9. Ian went lower with 1.6. Emilio went lower with 1.7. Miles went lower with 1.8, and I went lower with 1.9. So as we know, it was 1.58 million. So Ian, you're not getting a pencil because you weren't right.
You're close.
You were near and yet so far.
So near and yet so far.
He's a harsh taskmaster, that JT, honestly.
I am indeed. Lots still coming up with us, so stay with us. We are going to be looking at scores on the TARDIS door. We are going to be doing the ratings game. We've got the Wokeometer coming up for you later on as well. And of course, lots more discussion over this episode of Doctor Who, Series 2 of the 2025 season, Lux. I want to get on to the animation bit as well. What did you make of this? I mean, I have to say, this was swapping the drag queen for animation. This is why the thing for me was the same story. Do you know what I'm saying here? Because it was over the top, even though it was a cartoon. It was the same sort of dialogue. It was the same thing. It was the same Harbin. Oh, it was just the same. But what do you think of this?
I thought, I mean, in terms of Frame Door were the company that did the animation, I think they did a really good job in terms of the actual look of Mr. Ring-a-Ding and the way, I thought that was really good. I just think, unfortunately, they missed I think RTD missed the boat to, make the Mr. Ring-a-Ding more sinister. I thought the cold open was good, but I think there was a great opportunity to make him a little bit more kind of scary and a bit more kind of and more of a threat in that in the episode. I think he decided to go a little bit more too much on the goofy and too much on the kind of wacky side, which is what you expect from RTD in terms of his writing. But I definitely think it had a lot of promise, the character, to be a good threat. I was also, like you, JT, disappointed that they went down the Pantheon or God route, because I thought we were done. I was hoping we were done with that after the last series, with Sutekh being the god of death, the big god. I personally I was like, oh, why can't it just be scientific, like a sci-fi reason as to why the characters come to life? Like they did with, again, Tooth and Claw is a good example, which funnily enough has a similar ending, because the werewolf is made of from Moonlight, and there's the exact same line from RTD that he wrote in Tooth and Claw that he basically copied and wrote around the fact that your body is made up of 60% water doesn't mean you can't drown. So there's all of that kind of stuff, which
well remembered.
Which was just not, and it actually noted the similarities between the ending of this episode and Tooth and Claw, which he wrote obviously back in 2006. I just think it was a wasted opportunity. I think there was something there, and it could have been built on, and the villain could have been really scary. But it wasn't utilized, unfortunately, which is a shame, because I was actually quite invested in that villain until the God thing, and until we jumped into the metaverse. Basically, there was something there. I think there was potential.
Okay.
I think with this whole character thing, it's just I just don't think it's imaginative, really. I mean, when he was becoming a little bit more three-dimensional, and you could see the mesh around him, and he was taking more sort of like 3D form. They did that with Homer Simpson going into the real world when he fell through a portal, and they did that about 25 years ago. And it's Doctor Who used to lead the way with a lot of things, with lots of ideas and concepts, but now it just follows, and it's following decades behind. And I just, and the whole idea of how it came, why did it come on that night then? If all it took was a parting in the clouds and a moonbeam then bouncing off a spoon, reflecting off a drawing pin,
that was
then
silly,
surely a cloudless, moon-filled night at some other point in the year, it could have happened then as well. And I think the reason, Emilio, why they didn't make him more sinister, and they could have done, and it might have been half interesting, is that they won't do that because that'll scare the bedwetters. I mean, they already had nappy changes 8 times a day. Christ help them if they have a 9, because those nappy bills are going to be through the roof. But also, if he's making Davros an able-bodied person now because you can't make disabled people evil, then you probably can't make kids' cartoons evil either.
Well, they can't because it's problematic. I mean, he believes in all this thing about youngsters and anxiety and all this. We know that because we've reported it on the channel. But here we've got this whole thing going on about he can't show anything that's problematic in the show in case of that. And yet it's the adults around them, these people like him, that are making them anxious by telling them a load of lies. We never had this problem with children being anxious 20 years ago because we were all told properly at school and in television. We're not treated properly. Like, it's just, that's what's going on. That's the nonsense about it.
They're brought up with a feeling of constant threat and imminent doom and disaster. I mean, when you were, if you were growing up in the 70s and certainly the 80s, there was the very, very, very real threat of nuclear war, apparently.
Totally. Yeah.
And it was a big thing. They even showed the Protect and Survive and the old war game films at schools and things. Now they'll just insist that they show adolescence at schools because it's made up, and they'll pretend that it's a documentary, or if you're on the BBC News you think it's a documentary, but then you're stupid. But they were showing these films, and if you thought too much about it, you might think on the odd occasion, that nuclear war was gonna break out. And I remember at one point I was working for the Ministry of Defence. I was attached to the army around the time of the First Gulf War, and late one night, when it had all kicked off, Saddam Hussein started sending rockets over Israel, and because he wanted to provoke, Israel kept out of it deliberately, but he started rocketing Israel because it's the trendy thing to do over there, isn't it? And at that point, going to bed that night, I wasn't sure if it was really going to hit the fan, because obviously I was aware of what was going on the army side of things. And you didn't know really if there was something seriously going to happen then. That was the 80s and early 90s.
But we didn't let it rule our lives. I mean, we grew up in the 80s.
You had a backbone. You had a backbone, didn't you? And
yes.
now there's a climate emergency, and there's this emergency.
There's an emergency for everything.
Of course there is, and it's the way everything's ramped up, even when they do a weather report after the news.
That's why they can't show anything horrific, or that's why he feels he can't show anything horrific in Doctor Who. That's why he got rid of Davros. That's why he's got rid of the Daleks. That's why you're not going to see the Cybermen. This is why. Let's look at Robert's point here. Was Lux the Harbinger? The Harbinger is the one with Jinx, wasn't Jinx. So the god isn't the Harbinger. Who was it? I don't know, and quite frankly, I don't care, because I've not been able to work it out, because the whole plot line of this sort of thing is so periodic. It spans, but he's not really telling the story properly, and therefore nobody cares. But you've got this whole thing here about this going on here, where he's brought in all these new villains, this whole pantheon he wants to call it. The gods of Ragnarok will be next. I'll tell you, if you can pay
Yes.
Stephen Wyatt what he wants to pay Stephen Wyatt. But you know, all these things, this whole pantheon, his own stuff from his own, and then they're lousy. They're not good villains. They're not good science fiction. They're weak villains. Dave Huntman is saying to us here, I wasn't that keen on Mr. Ring-a-Ding's theme tune thing. I mean, Maestro's a drag queen. You can't take that seriously at all. As we talked about last year, that was bloody awful. Now you've got a cartoon. You know, really? I mean, they even watered down Sutek last year, for crying out loud. It didn't.
Yeah,
it just doesn't.
awful.
It just doesn't look. That's why, you know, he can't be seen to be. He doesn't want to scare the kids, really. It's up to a certain level. Oh, we mustn't make them anxious. We mustn't wet the bed. Why not? As Robert Holmes used to say when he was in control of Doctor Who, let's scare the little buggers. Stephen Braddock is saying here they should have had the scary 3D version chasing them around the dark, closed cinema, but it's too scary, I suppose.
Yeah.
And Noodle Arms, why has there been the shift to every monster being a god? I just don't get it. Steph's with us, Stephanie Barrett, saying to us, RTD copies, there are few fresh ideas. Mudcrab, the Ring Ding a Dong Dong looks okay, but that level of animation isn't that hard these days. Look up some Blender and Grease Pencil tutorials online. If you have the time and desire, you can do that at home. I'm sure you can, and I'm sure you can do it really well as well, you know. Tim Kintz is with us, saying that's some well thought through points from everybody in the chat as well as ourselves, I am sure there. Ezra, hello Ezra. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. He's off to go to get ready for work. Time Saver 93. No one likes shooting out where he's not the Doctor and he isn't an actor. It's a shame, really. I haven't seen any of the evidence, and yet I quite liked him as Eric in Sex Education, but I've realised that he was playing a form of himself in Sex Education. He must have been, and I don't see any acting ability, I'm afraid, in Doctor Who from him. I certainly don't see the Doctor at all.
No.
Terrified Monk is saying this episode should have been in the theatres. What could have been if this show was written correctly? In the cinemas. I see what you mean. Nobody would go. They wouldn't make the money on it, I tell you, because those days where people were packing in the cinemas for the 50th or for Peter Capaldi's episode, they've gone. They've gone. Even the fans aren't going now. It's to bugger off over the years.
They've missed the boat on that one completely.
Let's see what else you're saying in the chat. John is saying the end made no sense at all. So pretty much as usual for RTD. It's always rushed. Always rushed. Yeah. Paul Rose, how does a cine projector force out regeneration energy? Just go with it. Don't ask questions. The load of sheep.
Yeah. Lazy writing. I think the kind of whole gods thing, it's just an excuse so that RTD can be lazy with his writing and to go down full kind of fantasy mode. I actually don't see what his logic was going down with this approach. For sure, you can have maybe one episode every season, or maybe every other season that you have like a character, an enemy like the Toymaker or the Gods of Ragnarok, or it's one of those ones where it's shown to the universe is bigger than just your Daleks and Cybermen, and it keeps you kind of guessing that you don't necessarily need. I think because he's gone down this kind of full kind of gods route, it's actually made the universe feel a lot smaller because. Basically, well, why would you bother watching a Dalek and Cybermen episode when you've got Gaunt that can do whatever they want and, etc. I just think I prefer the mystery. I prefer, kind of not, getting a hint that the universe is slightly bigger than what we mainly see when we watch an episodic Doctor Who series. But I think he just got the balance completely, taking it completely the wrong direction. Yeah.
I think with his whole switch towards gods and everything, it's like if it's a straightforward hard science fiction, if you like, which he's also never been really good at. I mean, if you look at his series enders, with like Daleks fighting Cybermen or just Daleks or whatever. Everything's destroyed in the end. They're completely wiped out and then they come back again later. Like the Daleks fighting the Cybermen and everything. And and they're all sucked into a void and everything else, or all the Daleks at the end of series 4, they're all suddenly white. They all blow up, don't they? And everything. But I suppose with sci-fi, you have to try at least and have a conclusion that seems logical and plausible. Whereas when it's gods, it can resolve a story just by doing that, because they're gods. So everything's reset. Everything's, like at the end of Sutek, the end of the penultimate episode last season, everybody was dying, everybody was being turned to dust and everything else, but everything's back again.
I was going to say they've been doing that sort of reset thing for years, though. These two, between him, I can't speak about Chibnall, but between him and Moffat, that's all they ever do. They just reset everything. Because there's no real danger in it, is there? They can't have that real end of world thing because you can't have the end of the world.
But it does seem that the universe has come back. Strangely, the universe does seem to have come back because Flux destroyed most of it outside the orbit of Earth.
Oh, you've said this. Yeah, you've said this before.
And Davis referred to that with the second of the Tennant stories.
Because that confused me. I was like, what?
Yeah, just everything was destroyed, and yet now it seems to be back again. I mean, where's next week's episode taking place? Because it's certainly not on Earth. Well, the rest of it's all being destroyed with Flux. So, and you didn't retcon that, Russell. So
yeah, let's just say some things have conveniently been forgotten. I reckon that thing that you told me about that I got confused of in that second alleged special. I don't understand that plot line. I think that was just to double down onto fans who had come back who had been dissatisfied with the Chibnall era, like all of you. Was to say, tough, it happened, and you can't rewrite things. It's not going to be that sort of reboot. I think that's what he did. Heretic OSJC, thank you for your super chat. I really appreciate that. Can't say HIV due to the kids. Planet of Incels is fine. Listen, I don't understand all that sort of stuff either. I just don't. Oh God, just call me old-fashioned. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's absolutely ridiculous on that one. It's great to see you all coming into the chat, everybody. Nice to see you. John Roberts is saying, RTD, if you're watching this tonight, please come on and defend your nonsense. We'd love him to. We'd love him to. I've invited him on before via the show. If you want to, I've got lots of people that want to talk to you, Mr. T. Lots of people that want to talk to you.
He wouldn't dare.
He wouldn't. Well, he said in the article we read this week on Headlines, he doesn't look at this stuff and he's got no time for people like us. Julianne is saying, Lux is the god of light, apparently, not the Harbinger, despite the Harvest Bringer film title. Again, it was him playing around with he's trying to make himself look clever again. We got the Sutek one last time round, and he's done it again this time round. And what's he going to do for this next trick on that one?
God only knows.
It doesn't have the shock value of Bad Wolf, does it?
No.
No.
What else we got here? We've got Woodhouse 12 Tears saying there'll never be another cinema screening after last year's debacle. True. And Rose Kirby saying, hey JT, thanks for the lovely memory of luxury soap Lux. You're very welcome. You can still get it in various shops here in the UK, Savers and stuff like that. If you want to go and look for it, you can still get it. Whoopie doodle do. It's Scott Andrew Barassis said 0 Lux given. And Marine Boy 1966 is saying Gatwa's not even coming across as convincing in his TV interviews. No, because he's paranoid. He's going to say something wrong again, and he's always looking off camera for whoever's there with him, and what he can say and what he can't say. Lux is the god of soap, says Stephen Braddock. And George, the so-called gods lose their value if they're used every other week.
Yeah,
that's a good point. But I mean, they went through it last night, didn't he? That cartoon thing, Mr. Wrong Ding a Ding Ding Ding, we talked about them. That's how he. Again, it wasn't written brilliantly, but I think he recognized the Doctor from the Celestial Toymaker, the Drag Queen, and Sutek. Is that right?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why isn't Lux then the cartoon suddenly frightened of the Doctor? You think he would be, surely?
He probably knows that the Doctor didn't do anything to resolve any of the plots anyway. He didn't do anything. The same in this episode. Actually, if you think about it, he didn't actually do anything to resolve the plot.
No,
he didn't actually save the day in any of those stories, really. So
just a load of film cans and film suddenly became very, very explosive as well as flammable. I mean, we know it's flammable, but now it's like, you know, it was like 2 kilos of C4 in there as well, wasn't it?
So
and didn't the fan give him the answer to the? They kind of mention what the answer is to solving the plot. They kind of say it's obvious, and you know. So if you were the god of light, you're not going to get the doctor because he's not actually done anything. He ran away from what's his name, the drag queen, when he saw them.
Yeah.
He didn't solve the plot. John Lennon.
Well, I would as well, quite frankly. If I saw him coming down the street, I'd run as well. Honestly,
I think, again, that is also a disservice to Shooty's Doctor in a way from RTD writing. In fact, that he can't write the Doctor using his brain to solve the problem and being the one that's saying today. He hasn't done it, I think, in any of his episodes.
Right, so I'm confused. Was Lux defeated, or did it just disappear?
So so it wasn't. I think the idea was that he's made of light, and then he obviously, you know, gets bigger and bigger. Then he basically descends, and then he's now not like. It wasn't very clear what were his motivations, right? Because if the Doctor hadn't arrived and he had landed in the cinema, what was he just going to sit in there? Like, it wasn't explained what is his ultimate goal. How does he plan? Like, it doesn't really show his attempt to try and leave the cinema. And you know, kind of all we got to see was him kind of emotionally blackmailing Pi, the Lux Cinema guy, with his wife, which I thought was actually a decent scene. That scene, but there's no logic behind. I didn't understand what this villain trying to achieve, and why did they end up dying? It was all very loose in its wording, and kind of you just had to go and just say, yeah, okay, he's made of light. He goes into the light. He dies. Is that it?
Just Jordan said his Lux became infinite light. So is it dispatch then? Is it DEAD?
I didn't know whether or not it was because it just got bigger and bigger and bigger and floated off into space.
Like a balloon.
Just became very, very diluted to the point where it was infinitely diluted. You know, like if you get a glass of orange juice and you keep pouring water into it, technically it's still orange juice, but it's 99.999% water, so it doesn't taste of orange at all. I probably thought at some point that might have made sense.
I am so confused, honest to goodness. I mean, you know, none of this makes any sense to me. I mean, you got to remember, I took several years off when Chibnall came in with Whittaker, and I refused to watch any of it. And I actually had a nice time not worrying about the blooming thing. And then I'm one of these people that thought, oh, RTD's coming back. Oh, it's 10, so it's Taste. It's going to be lovely. And I've been disappointed every week since then, basically, getting through all these episodes. And last night was no exception. I was disappointed and just thought, this is nonsense. This isn't Doctor Who for me. And now I'm more confused than ever about this plotline because all these gods are coming in. So is the Celestial Toymaker out there still? Is Sutek out there? Is this Lux out there? Is that bloody drag queen still out there? Or just looking at doing Hollywood from now on? I mean, this is what's confusing. There's no resolution to his writing, is there? There's no commitment to actually telling a proper story. It's paint by numbers all the way through. And it's really annoying me, Who viewers. I mean, what's the point in sitting down every single week just to get the same thing? This was the devil's board all over again. Paul Schlafter is saying to us, I think it's sad RTD hates the fans the way he does. It's because we don't like him. He has one thing to do when he came back, bring fandom back together. Instead, he's doubled down and basically told us all to pee off. Well, he has. And is that the reason you think he did this? What was this about? This is something else that you need to explain to me, everybody in the chat. What the hell was this? Why? Just why? Why was this in the show? This took me out of the show. This was a whole section of the script that should have been, through a decent script editor, shoved out of it saying, what are you doing? Now, I've had people arguing with me today on the Book of Face. Oh, it's going to be explained by the end of it. I'm not going to get through to the end of it to find this explanation, and it better be a bloody good payoff. Because I looked at that and I'm thinking, who the hell are these people? Is that supposed to be us? Because that's a bloody insult. And I wouldn't wear your bloody Deep merchandise, Davis, I can tell you.
I bet they include them in the ratings. 3 extra.
What was it about, though? It took me out of the...
Same for me, JT. It completely took me out of the episode. I was like, what's going on here? You know, it just felt like you were going from one episode of Doctor Who to a completely different. I wouldn't even call it an episode of Doctor Who, something like Gogglebox, but you know, Gogglebox Doctor Who or something. It was really, really weird. It completely took you out. It cut any of the kind of setup or any sort of atmosphere that they were creating in the cinema. I think that was okay. You stick to one location. The cinema good, and as some of the comments said, you could have done a lot more with that. You know, make the cinema dark, have him chase them through, you know, the cinema or whatever. You know, so they could have done something with that, but instead you end up in this kind of metaverse. And I just think when a show goes meta, that tells you it's on its last legs, right?
Now, meta means self-aware, doesn't it?
It's not good to be that self-aware as a show, right?
Certainly not Doctor Who. If you start going into all this thing where you're self-aware of your own sort of stuff, it becomes very complicated. Because let's face it, Doctor Who. I mean, shows in the old days, especially during the wilderness years, used to take the pee out of Doctor Who all the time because of its own sort of. I mean, that thing that Moffat wrote, The Curse of the Fatal Death. While it's actually watchable, it's a pee take. Because it shows you the bits of Doctor Who that don't work. So if you're going to bring it into the show like this, you're not clever, RTD, because you're going to tie yourself into something stupid. Now, I've got a couple of super chats, guys, before we carry on with this. Lex Kane, thank you for your super chat. I think there was a plot hole. Mr. Pie was gone. Oh, what a waste of a superb actor. I'm so annoyed about that, actually. We will come to that as well. And thank you for your super sticker, James Famuk. I really appreciate that. He's telling us all, you are amazing. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. So are you guys in the chat for putting up with our rants here today. But thank you so much for that. George is saying to us, thank you. I really appreciate it. George is saying to us, I didn't realize she had a blooming Meep shirt. It's pathetic. And it was taking the pee out of the fans, saying RIP Doctor Who. Now, these are people, don't forget, that say they don't look at social media and they're not aware. So how did they know of the hashtag RIP Doctor Who when he was writing this last year?
Well, didn't they all migrate to the much more friendly and left-leaning Blue Sky anyway? And yet I know he's still on Instagram. That was this year. Instagram and X and everything else. They're all still on it. They've not left because they're afraid that they'll miss something and that they'll cease to be relevant. But I mean, people like RTD have ceased to be relevant years ago. But these fans, you know, they got actors, didn't they? Because they couldn't find any actual fans that were willing to do it. But I mean, I got the impression that one was a lesbian, one was a gay Asian lad, and the other one was a very large disabled person, which is probably the demographic that they think they're talking to. Well, and it's like, well, any new Who fans like that. I mean, Telos, I don't think has been mentioned ever in the new series reboot since 2005. That's the old 70s unit logo, because in the 80s it became more United Nations and unified and had like paratrooper wings on it as well from Battlefield, in fact.
Look at the book behind them, proper Doctor Who merchandise.
Yeah. All the DVDs in the back.
Yeah.
I mean, hands up for you lot in the chat. How many of you watch Doctor Who wearing a Doctor Who scarf, a fez, and a Doctor Who t-shirt? Grow up.
Yeah.
I mean, is that how he looks at? This is what I don't understand.
Yes,
this whole
it is.
thing.
I think it genuinely is. I think it really is.
Yeah. Do you think so?
Yeah, I think that's what he was trying to show, and he was also trying to show the fan that those three fans are the fan that he wants, or they're the fans that you know he gonna basically pander to basically. If you're not these types of fans, then I think that's the only thing I could explain why he wanted to show the scene was for him to go, no, he's already told us all to touch grass and we're all lying in the grass at the moment, but he's basically saying, yeah, you know, this is something for you, this is how I view the fandom, the good side of the fandom that I want to
the approved side.
Yeah, exactly, that's it. I think that's ultimately what that scene was about, but why it had any place in this episode bewildered me. Yeah,
I hadn't thought of this at all. So you've now put this in my head, and I won't sleep tonight, quite frankly, because if that's the case, he's more of an idiot than I've put him down to. Let's go to the chat, because a couple of things here I want to address. Julianne Goodwin is saying, to be fair, they are exactly like the shills. Okay, fair enough. Matthew Burrows is saying, RTD needs to go into therapy. I think we're all going to have to go into bloody therapy after this series. Mudcrab, Joy 8 looks, because there was no way that greedy bint is going to let a second star steal her thunder. Wild Thunder, he's not a god, he's a very naughty boy. We've also got here, well, we got Woodhouse122 saying to us that fan bit killed off any interest in the episode for me. It was just the fourth wall breaking and coming out of the television and sitting in a sitting room type environment. I just thought it was too much, and the Doctor Who logo as well. Wow. Too much. Even Lux wouldn't. I'll get a headache. The Meta fan scene was hilarious. The Meta fan scene was hilarious, says Sonny Waffles. It was RTD seething about the fans and not liking season 1 and liking Blink over it. Yeah, there was that whole thing. Yeah. What are you saying, Ian?
It was too much in remembrance of the Daleks, really, where there was that reference to, it's 5:15 and it's time for the latest episodes in the new BBC's new science fiction series. And then it cut off. That was too much, really.
Yeah, I remember at the time as an 18-year-old going, oh.
Yeah, I mean that was as meta as the classic series got, and probably just as well, really. But yeah, this was really. You do wonder, because they came back again in the closing credits, and obviously are now alive.
Oh no!
Do you think this will feed into the end episode? What is it, the reality war or something? Do you
know what? I don't really care, because it was so stupid. I've lost any interest in it at all. I don't care. If they turn up again, I won't be surprised, because he thinks he's clever. But you know what? Nobody's watching. So who's gonna get the rewards of this? The show business needs to understand this guy is not what he is. He's having a massive flop with Doctor Who. A massive flop. He hasn't come to rescue it. He's come to finish it off for good. Farsight is saying to us, the fans, pure spite. He was having a go at the fans who have stopped watching. Time slip. If RTD is playing the long game with all this, he better hope there's someone there at the end to go, oh, right, yes, it all makes sense now. It's not going to be me, fella, I tell you. Terrified Monk is also saying, I bet they all get jobs at UNIT.
Yes.
They will. Paul Richards is saying RTD having the Doctor Who fans appear in order for the Gatwa Doctor to tell them they don't exist. Might be some sort of hint after the ratings plummet. These new Who stories are like a spoof sketch from bad parts of the wilderness years. That I agree with that. That's what I was trying to say before. If the Who's Views panel can't fathom out the ending, and we can't either, that shows what a bad writer he is. There's just no resolution. Stories are supposed to have beginning, middle, and end. This just goes and throws everything at you, including the kitchen sink, and then you get knocked unconscious and you don't bother with the rest of the episode. Kev is with us, Kev Gresham. It just shows you back in the day it was a family watching it, but he thinks it's teens only. He used that scene as Heretic to mock RIP Doctor Who, the hashtag, which is massive hashtag, isn't it? Chris Chatfield.
But he just ended up reinforcing it, didn't he?
He did. He's reinforced it, because we all use it. So did he now on the actual show. So it's canon. As somebody was saying to me in the 6 o'clock show, The Timeless Children and RIP Doctor Who is now canon. Chris Chatfield, I disagree. I feel last night's episode was a bit of fun. I enjoyed it. It was fairly inoffensive, and the Mets fan bit was a bit of comedy gold. You lot take the show far too serious. It's entertainment. Well, you might think so.
I think some people will not mind the meta peak, but I bet if you've got a room full of 100 people, I would guarantee you that at least 90 won't like it. And the same reason why most people weren't a fan of Osgood when she appeared, because she was too much. She was basically a Doctor Who fan in the show, and it's too on the nose. When something becomes self-aware, it takes you out of what you're watching. And I think ultimately that is, and this was obviously like an extreme version of that. I didn't like Osgood. I certainly didn't like the fact that it went meta. Yes, there'll be some people that like that kind of thing. And I'm not saying you can't like that kind of thing, but does it have a place in Doctor Who? No. And could you get away maybe with one episode where it is meta? Maybe, but you do that properly. You focus on that idea. You don't do what you do here, where you're setting up a kind of creepy cinema cartoon come to life villain, and then you're thrown into something completely different. It doesn't work. So yeah, that's the problem.
It's a good point. It is a good point. So thanks for that, Chris. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I wish I did. I really did, but I didn't. Now, earlier on in the chat, I mentioned the Gods of Ragnarok, which come from the far more superior story, The Greatest Show in the Galaxy from Sylvester McCoy's time. Strangely, towards the end of Doctor Who's original 26 run, as we all know. But that has just been brought up again by the Legion of James, because he's just made me realize that the whole thing has been done before and better in Stephen Wyatt's brilliant Greatest Show in the Galaxy story. Because remember, the Gods of Ragnarok appeared as a family. And Legion of James is saying, oh, wait, I bet those 3 fans are the Gods of Ragnarok, watching the Doctor to be entertained in a Greatest Show ripoff. That's a brilliant theory, I think, Legion of James. Well done.
Wow.
That's really smart thinking, that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well,
I'm not saying it's I don't think that's interesting. I don't think the idea itself is something you should do, but it's interesting that I didn't think of it like that.
No,
but it would be very RTD, wouldn't it, to rip somebody else's ideas off again? You know.
Yeah.
He can't help himself.
He did introduce the pantheon of Discord in with the Trickster back in the Sarah Jane Adventures, and I think. So there is that, which he had. I think the Trickster was mentioned in the last season.
He was mentioned last year, was it, or somewhere?
Yeah, I think in the Legend of Ruby Sunday when Sutek is, or is it kind of, or whatever.
You really are paying attention, Emilio. 10 points for you. I'm so impressed.
I don't know how I remember this stuff. I hated pretty much all of last season. But yeah, no, he did introduce that pantheon, which showed that he was already he had some of these ideas already 20 years ago, which he utilized. I think the Trickster is actually a good villain for the Sarah Jane Adventures. But
it's brilliant.
Yeah, it is. It's brilliant.
I'm not sure it's Russell's idea. It might be Gareth.
It could be. I know. Was it Phil Ford also wrote some episodes?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah.
Not sure. Whoopi Doodle Do. It's Scott Andrew Brass is saying even the imaginary fans didn't like any of Gatwa's adventures. That was brilliant. That bit. I don't know. Oh, there we go. That's just silly. And Skibbity. Hello. Meta equals shark jumping time. Well, I'm not going to argue with that one. I think it did. Terrified Monk, it's where characters go to die in Doctor Who. And Sunny Waffles is saying Doctor Who was already dead. This meta stuff is good. It's the last season and it creates plot. Well, what the hell is meta, says Sean Cry. Well, apparently that's a phrase that I didn't know about either, but I looked it up. It means self-aware. Apparently, I don't know where the hell it's come from, Sean, but it means self-aware. So Doctor Who is now becoming more, and under Chibnall and RTD, it has done that. It starts to become more aware of itself, and things are creeping into various scripts. Very strange. Lex is with us. Hello there. Gatwa Who did not like Weeping Angels being mentioned. Yeah. And Kip Ellis. Nice to see you, Kip Ellis. Welcome to Who's Views. That bit was like a Children in Need special bit or something. It was weird. It did have that. Yes. Kip, yes, it had that feeling of a Children in Need thing, the way it was shot and everything. You're absolutely right. I knew I'd recognize the look of this. Yes, you're right. Mark Greaser said it jumped the shark.
Yeah.
There's another phrase. Curse of the Fatal Light, says Steve Black. Do you know all I could remember when he said apparently he became this God of Light? Is all I could think of was Ghostlight and thinking, we had something like this before as well. Light was, and he was a much bigger adversary and a little bit more scary, in my opinion. What else we got here? Lots of you. Mark Jones is saying the guy in the scarf was in sex education with Gatwa and tried for the Doctor when Gatwa got it. He is a friend of Gatwa's. Oh, really? Well, that explains a lot then. Right. He wouldn't have been very good. He looked far too young. These fictional Doctor Who fans don't exist, says Paul Richards, because they're all out touching grass. And Raymond is saying to us,
just doing as we were told.
Yes, yeah, as we were ordered to. Raymond is saying to us, took me totally out of the episode. From Miami 1952 to the UK present day, they time traveled through a flat screen telly where they had been changed by a cinema projector. There were no rules, RTD, and anything goes. I totally agree with you, Raymond. I was looking for the story. How did it happen? What's going on? Nonsense.
I truly
got this-
believe he didn't know what he was going to do in that second act, because I thought up until the
yeah.
bit where the animation, I thought actually the way that they worked out around character depth and trying to basically get himself out of the animation, I think at that point they should have then come back to the cinema. And it should have been a good 10 to 15 minutes to really build up the villain. Maybe he kills a few more people, really show a more sinister aspect, and then pay off the episode. I just don't think he knew what he wanted to do. I don't think I think he knew. He knew the setup. He had the idea of this, cartoon coming to life. He knew where he wanted the episode to be, and he's obviously reusing the same kind of thing that he did in Tooth and Claw. So he kind of had a little bit of an idea of how to end it in his head, but he didn't know what he wanted to do in that middle section. And he probably just got a mad idea in his head. Oh, I'm just going to show the fans what kind of fans I like and which ones I don't, and I'm gonna have a bit of a laugh and take the piss, and it could be really meta and cool because all the shows now are meta, and I think that's probably what went on in his head.
I totally agree with you. I don't think he's a clue what he's doing because he's got so many of these ideas, and because, as we keep saying, he doesn't have a decent script editor that's going to challenge him and have the balls to stand up to him and say, you're not doing that and you're not doing that, because he's so big, isn't he? He's the big guy, it comes out in the scripts. That whole thing with these fans, that should have been edited out because it's not funny, it's not clever, it had no relevance at all. And as you guys are saying in the chat, I totally agree. Something else should have happened in the cinema. Maybe he had been trapped a little bit. I didn't get any feeling of them being trapped in a film or the cartoon because it was over very quickly, probably because of cost, over very quickly. And it just didn't go anywhere. And the next thing they're back to reality, scrolling with all this sort of stuff. There was no feeling of them being trapped or in danger in any sort of way.
No.
And when you look at things that could have been done there, it could have been quite. Again, they won't do it because it was problematic to be horrific. It could have been a very serious time. Lex Kane is saying to us, the ending when the fake fans give their score of the episodes out of 10. Exactly. And don't forget, we're going to be doing that very thing here later on Scores on the TARDIS Doors. He is watching. Time slip. Any second now, the three of you will flash negative and be revealed as the unholy trinity. Yeah. How did you know?
We've been rumbled. We've been rumbled. Damn it.
Oh, look. Duncan is saying, maybe I once wore a scarf to watch when I was 7. And Ian Scales is with us saying, I have my scarf every single day. Exactly. Nice to see a Tidy Boy. Tidy Boy is with us as well, saying bow ties are cool. I'm surprised one of them wasn't wearing one of these, to be honest. And Plastic Lasers, hello, welcome to Who's Views. The plots just seem cobbled around an excuse for the showrunner to get in digs back at the fan base that's rejected his direction. It's bizarre. Totally agree.
Didn't he write it before? He wrote it before season 1 came out. I think it was actually at the time when the specials had just started to come out that he was probably right. He had written this episode, so it's even before the reviews for season 1 had come in. So I think that's quite interesting. Even I find it ironic the whole RIP. So I think he wrote that scene. Thinking that his Doctor Who was going to be a success, and so putting RIP Doctor Who going to look really stupid about those fans. Well, hello RTD, the death of Doctor Who is coming, and you're right at the helm. So I think that's the ironic thing about it all.
But it depends when they filmed it, because they may have filmed it. We may have wrote it at a certain point, and then they may have filmed it way after, you know what I mean? So I don't know, because they were filming last year, don't forget.
I saw someone on Twitter, and again, people were probably in the chat can help verify, but apparently it was written at the time around about it was filmed around about the time the Church on Ruby Road was being shown, or just after the Church on Ruby Road had been premiered in December. So I think they were filming actually around about just the time before the first season had actually aired.
But the RIP thing started with Chibnall, and it really took off after the 60th anniversary stuff. Really took off. Lee Pierce is joining us. Awful episode on Saturday night for me. It sent me asleep. Thank you very much. And Max Does Stuff has joined us. Hello, Max Does Stuff. I liked his voice. What, ring-a-dong-ding-dings? Did you? That, of course, was Alan Cumming. And a huge thank you, Mark Milford, for your super chat here. Mr. Ring-a-Ding has minstrel tropes with skin color exaggerated features, a dandy costume, vaudeville speech, recalling the minstrel trickster made to mock and dehumanize shame. I just thought it was silly. I didn't see any of what you've seen there, Mark, to be honest. I just thought it was just exaggerated fully to be, because we know that Russell's based it on the Betty Boo style cartoons, hasn't he? I just think it was daft. Dalek Eye is saying the episode sounds dated already. This whole series that he's written for this is dated. And Joe Chapman is saying, what a waste of Linus Roach. I am so annoyed about this because Linus Roach is a fantastic actor. He's a wonderful actor. He's brilliant. He's one of the actors I would have liked to see once upon a time playing the Doctor in the 90s. Here he is in this. Wonderful performance.
Yeah.
But wasted. Absolutely wasted. And as you're saying in the chat, what happened to him at the end? He wasn't even in the end.
He died, I think, in the explosion.
You think in the explosion?
He committed suicide, if you want to call it that, or whatever. But he died, and it wasn't. There was no. The Doctor and Belinda don't even address it at the end of the episode. Like,
no, they don't. No,
which is just but to be again, I'll give RTD credit. It was a good, for once, a good supporting character that. Actually was a white guy that was written positively, let's say. But I think they could have done more about his the kind of grief theme that they were trying to go at, and his obviously I did like the scene where his dead wife is come in black and white and he's dancing with her. But I think they could have done more on that. They could have really gone into the character a little bit more, how Mr. Ring-a-Ding is manipulating his grief to get whatever he wants to get. I think there was a whole thing they could have done with that, which is just completely wasted. And as you say, JT, it didn't give us give him enough screen time on air, and also not enough time for us to really care when he dies at the end.
Well, I didn't even know he died.
There was no way his proximity to that explosion he could have survived it. But I mean, maybe if they'd got the robot from last week to sweep up his various blown apart body parts, they could have at least had a chuckle about it, because white man blown up. So
or the Doctor could get his regeneration energy and bring him back to life.
Absolutely. Together and share it out. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, and what happened with that? All that energy that he was producing is that a waste now of lives? Is it a waste of energy? This is what they don't think of. It's a plot device for them, isn't it? It's just stupid. I mean, nobody really cares. Paul Rose is saying, JT, these were the first shooty episodes I've watched. Oh, I'm so sorry about that, Paul Rose. Controversial opinion. If there were no agendas or sexuality or camp dress up and the scripts were good, Shooty may have had a chance. I think he may have done, actually, because people have told me he's actually quite a good actor. But we also know that his vision for Doctor Who was not followed through. He was told, no, you can't have the costume you want and the look of a character you want. You're going to have it this way, because RTD put his foot down, so you're going to have a different outfit every episode. And the scripts have come in. And I'll always say that actors, whether they're good or bad, will always do what the boss tells them to do, because that's what they're there to do. Unless you're John Pertwee and then you question them left, right, and centre. And Tom Baker. But you don't if you're somebody who's down there with Shooty. So it's hard to say. I would like to say yes. I think he would have had a chance to have a go at the character he wanted to. Maybe one day he will say what his original idea is when he's well away from the show, because we know he's finished now. We're assuming he's finished now and he's gone. So maybe one day he'll come and say, this is what I wanted to do. And Jack Thursby, it's good to see Russell is trying to emulate all sorts of stuff he's seen, but he's failing on all levels. He thinks it's also clever, but it is just embarrassing.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Ego.
Yeah.
And Elliot Taylor's with us, guys. There's better writing in the WWE than in Doctor Who right now. A sentence I never thought I'd say. I love that. And problem being, Birthday Boy himself tomorrow is saying the main villain will be Andrew Tate, the god of white straight men or something. I am waiting for that to crop up at some point, to be very, very honest. Chris Chatfield is also saying to us, by the way, happy Easter. And to you, everybody in the chat, happy Easter. It's Easter Day. Welcome to Who's Views Reviews. We are looking at looks, of course. It's great to see you all in the chat. Thank you very much for joining us. This particular episode for me was, I don't know, it just wasn't what I expected. It just didn't give me what I wanted either. And it's just lost me. I'm totally confused about it. You know, what's happening with Doctor Who today. Let's see who this is, everybody. Oh, hang on. Hello, this is Who's Views Reviews. Can I help you?
Yeah, hello, Who's Views there? I'm watching your channel here. Watching your YouTube channel.
Oh, thank you.
On the computer. And, I've noticed you're talking about looks.
I'd
like to complain, if I may. I didn't like looks at all.
Okay.
I had a real problem with looks. In fact, it gave me a rash. That's right. Yeah, a rash. Yeah, well, you should see it in places I can't even describe. It's the worst soap I've ever used in my life. It's just awful. The wife loves it, though. But I won't be using it ever again. No way. Listen, got to go. The dog's decided to hump the couch. Excuse me.
Okay. I think that was a cross line. Everybody there from thank. Oh, he's gone. Thank you very much for that call, for calling in. This happens on Who's Views Reviews with these new shows. Sometimes we get people who get the Who's Views number, they phone in and they let us know their view on that, everybody. But that wasn't really what we were expecting, was it, everybody? No, not at all. I've got another story for you here, everybody, actually, before we move on. And yes, my favorite journalist from the Metro, everybody. Woo! Back, everybody. Asaya is with us again because guess what, everyone? She loved looks, not the soap.
Well, she did.
I don't know what she's using, but she loved this episode. Have a look at this, everyone. Doctor Who has struck gold with the best episode in years. Yes, she's talking about looks. Let's get into it. She says here, the second episode of Shooty Gat was Doctor Who Season 2. Looks is a clear sign that the show is on the up and up. This is clearly written before the ratings came in. The episode sees new companion Belinda and the Doctor arrive in 1952 Miami, Florida, during the Doctor's continued attempts to try and take the skeptical nurse home to the date May the 24th, 2025. A point in time that the TARDIS is steadfastly unable to land on for some mysterious reason. After convincing Belinda it's worth the foray, big word, outside, Claire got suited up and stumbled outside a chained-up cinema that appeared to have something sinister inside. The episode features all the good elements of the show, a heartfelt side character that with a story you can root for, in this case the caretaker, fueling the villain's power so we can keep the spirit of a deceased love alive. An edge-of-your-seat mystery, how to defeat Mr. Ring-a-Dong-Ding, that comes to fruition with a slightly cheesy but quintessentially Whovian solution, I hate that word, while also tying into the bigger plot. The highlight of the episode has to be when Belinda and the Doctor are turned into animations, a delightful bit of imagery with a brilliant solution that forwards the plot and their brewing connection at the same time. And it's a memorable episode and one of the best from Shooty's run. That's not very difficult, he only had 12. If not the best in several years, with only a handful of one-off episodes reaching a similar standard, such as Rogue and Wild Blue Yonder. More importantly, unlike last season, where it felt as though Ruby Sunday and the Doctor didn't get the chance to breathe and build their chemistry, it's clear that RTD is taking a totally different direction. And if the quality that has only increased from the first episode maintains, if not gets better, then we are in for a treat and a season that people will be running to rewatch. One thing is for sure, Shooty and Verada are whipping up something magical on screen. Well, it's not the ratings, is it, darling? What do you make of that, guys?
Delusional.
Delusional. I think it's also what is your standards, right? What's the bar, right? I would say for me, Inferno is the bar of a Doctor Who story.
Right.
Her bar is Rogue, or the Devil Chord, or Space Babies. So if you're comparing this to that, I would agree in saying it's probably one of the better ones in Shooty's run. But by God, it doesn't even scrape the surface of the true classics. It doesn't, to be honest, it doesn't even scrape the surface of a mid season 10 Capaldi episode, right? Like it would be probably one of the weaker episodes in that season. So it's just, what are your standards? What's your level? What are you comparing it against? And clearly she doesn't have any high standards when it comes to Doctor Who stories, or she's definitely not watched any good ones.
I was surprised that she didn't like the fan bit more, because they're all her pals, aren't they? Really, let's face it. You know,
they're probably her fellow writers, aren't they? Probably fellow writers, if indeed they can spell, because I'm not always sure she can. But I mean, I would rather rewatch Tom Baker in Underworld, which was an
I love Underworld.
infamous. But it was an infamous season cheapie, wasn't it? Because inflation was at about 8 billion% at the time, and they had no money, literally no money, but they still made a gripping story out of it. Poor CSO, but really gripping story out of it. Whereas this, with all the money, and they still can't do it. It's shocking, absolutely shocking. And she is deluded. Honestly, I mean, she's a few crisps short of a packet, isn't she? I mean,
a very privileged, spoiled brat, but we love her on this channel because she keeps giving us content that we can really get into, because she's totally delusional.
This is what happens when you get rid of care in the community. They go to write for the Metro and produce this.
Yeah,
it's
true.
Bonkers.
It's true. I just want to say hello to Minkin too in the chat. Are they in danger of ruining the Mrs. Flood reveal when all she does is show up to break the fourth wall, but never give her any character development? Who will still care? Well, I don't anyway already, to be quite honest, Minkin. But thank you for that. It's nice to see you. And hello to Graham Clements. I just don't recognise Shooty as the Doctor. It's like he's stolen the TARDIS from the character and just doing his own thing. Well, you might recall actually that's what happened in that Celestial Toymaker one. That's what happened. He repeated the TARDIS. And that's when I got the feeling that this wasn't the Doctor. This was a copy of the Doctor and a copy of the TARDIS, and that whole by regeneration. So actually the real Doctor is living with Donna in Chiswick. That's our Doctor, the William Hartnell Doctor. This isn't. This is another Doctor. You know, this is a carbon copy. That's how I've looked at it. You know, it's ridiculous. And thank you for your super chat, James Fumuk. Lovely to see you. I really, really like the animation. Is it Doctor Who? No. Did it need the race stuff? No. But that animation was amazing. The animation was very good, and I'm sure it was very expensive, which is why you didn't get much of it, because it was Frame Store as well, and they did do a nice job, I think. And that's probably why they've not got the gig for the blooming Blu-rays and DVDs, quite frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. On your point, JT, I agree that I think the direction, the rumor and the direction it going does suggest that, you know, the minute he used the Toymaker's hammer for the TARDIS and create a new TARDIS, that basically what we're seeing is a kind of, and you know, the reality war title. I think there's going to be set up that maybe this is some sort of kind of fake reality, basically. And as you say, the Doctor is it kind of with David Tennant. I mean, otherwise they would make no logical sense. Why did RTD do the bi-generation in the first place? He could have just had the Doctor just regenerate into Shooty when a Toymaker killed him. He didn't do that. So, you know, with RTD thinking he's clever, he clearly and with the hammer, I'm sure he, unless he's really gone mad, surely he's gonna point back to all of that and try and wrap up this era in a bow, basically, in a night. Yeah, that's what I think. Which would be good, I guess, in a sense that then we can all discount this era of Doctor Who.
Well, yeah, he's not going to like that much, though, is it? Matthew Burr is the same rogue. She is clearly deranged, totally, but she is that sort of. She's going to love the idea of, you know, all the weapon that was going on, even though myself as a gay man and many other gay men went, no, we don't want this. The Doctor isn't gay. We've also got this from Paul Roughton. Let's be real. She just types the line and puts it through ChatGPT. Yeah. Problem being wants us to wash our mouth out with looks. And third Dr. Andrew is saying, what the hell has she been sniffing? Lux, it's been Lux all the way. She loves it so much. Garbage is saying, does this Metro writer not understand? They said it was a brilliant episode last year when it was a piss poor episode. We no longer value her opinion. And Ron Sapp is saying, just when you think it can't get any worse. Darren M. Hembro, nice to see you. I thought the best thing about the episode was the closing titles. Is she writing this to make us laugh, says Dalekite? Between her and RTD, yes. Quite frankly, honestly.
She probably thinks she's really serious as well. You know, she probably thinks she could go off and write an article next for The Guardian, or not that would take much brain power either, or The Telegraph or something like that. You know, The Observer. She probably thinks she's a high-end journalist, whereas she's just actually a gibbering fool. You know, she dribbling between words and everything. It's quite embarrassing.
I wonder what time she watched the episode, because I'm sure she was on the protest march yesterday.
And she's incredibly biased, right? Like, you know, if you're a good journalist, you would review that objectively, and you would go, okay, I would even agree there's some potential there to be a good episode of Doctor Who. But you've got to weigh up. You've got to say what are the good points, what were some of the negatives. You don't just write a load of, you know, positive, overly positive bias claptrap that you want to present your kind of what you think a good Doctor Who is. It's not, you know, you need to highlight some criticism as well. You know, she doesn't do that.
No, it's true.
I think she's probably paid. I do think she's probably paid. That's my personal opinion. It's all alleged, but it would not surprise me if she was a paid shill.
Well, I don't know. Stephen Noddles, SO. Hello, nice to see you. As a political scientist and sociologist, hang on. Yes, I know propaganda when I see it. You're totally right, though, aren't you? And Philip is here with us saying, if even though Gatwa wanted to play the Doctor the way he wanted, there is no reason to diss the fans and tell them to touch grass. Yes, you're absolutely right with that. You had no right to say that at all. It was so stupid of him. And the Verada's gone and done something similar this year. Craig Dunlop is saying, Istafer is clearly a major player in the upcoming reality war, because hers is definitely different to ours. Oh, you're all so funny. It's so great to see you all here. Thank you very much. Don't chat them like that with that. Third Dr. Andrew is saying, do we dare say the ratings next week will lose at least 300k viewers? We're going to be coming to the ratings game soon, everybody, so stay with us. Henberg says, problem being? Yes, it's my tribute to a classic 90s show. If you know it, you know it. Woo, woo. Aaron Sutherland is saying, but why would you create two series of crap to then hark back to the bi-generation with no audience behind you? I don't know. Let's ask him. Let's try and get him on the phone, because that's exactly what there's done. There's no audience. And we've got Turk Love. Hello to you. Nice to see you. Her sister must work for the Radio Times. And PTA is saying to us, thank you for your super chat, PTA. RTD once said he will mention Nolly in the show. Crossroads ended up a dream. Likely 60 years of Who will be written off as Nolly having a dream. Oh, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Is that what he said? I've missed that one. And yet we've got all this soap stuff coming up in the show, apparently, haven't we, later on? Ooh. What a strange trip this version of Doctor Who has been, says Terrified Monk. Not particular. I'm the Tegan of this particular version of Doctor Who. It's not been that enjoyable, and I want to get off. So I hope it hurries up and finishes. What are we doing? And Digby, thank you so much for your super chat. Sorry to join you lovely people so late. Salutations, JT, Ian, Emilio, and wonderful people in the chat. I've been out with friends getting drunk. Well done on calling the ratings. What do you mean you've been out when we're on? How very dare you? How cheeky is that?
We'll let him off.
You have a life.
Probably saw the ratings and thought, you know what, I'm going to go out and have a good time.
Well done on calling the ratings dip. Well, I would think if everybody was honest on similar shows that like to look like ours, then they should be, quite frankly, because it's a massive dip. It's losing viewers weekly and has been since the first episode of Whittaker, which I think was called The Woman Who Fell to Earth.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Wild Hunter
wants to know our opinions on the new companion. No, you don't. Go on then. For me, on this particular one, again, shallow. No impact for me. seem to. There's been this whole big thing, hasn't there, about she doesn't want to be there. She doesn't want to be there. She certainly did in this episode. She got into it fairly quickly, didn't she? Quicker than Tegan ever did. Tegan sulked an awful lot for 3 or 4 stories before eventually lightening up in Black Orchid.
She was kissing his hand at the end of it.
So she's in for it now, isn't it? She's in for the run. She's yeah, let's see where we go now. We're in it together now. So that whole thing of the thing and making a big play of this thing, it's not there, is it? I don't know.
When the major theme for the series is ditched by episode 2, then you know they've got a problem, don't you? Really?
Yeah.
You know, he's desperate to get home, and then by episode 2, now we're in it together. Let's just see how it pans out. Nah. Yeah.
I think the issue with at the start of the episode, or the way they ended the last episode, and the way the right at the beginning of the episode is about getting her home, right? Obviously. Then 2 seconds later, she's dancing, getting changed into clothes, and then there's no
flippy.
It's just flippant. It's just flipped on a dime. So you can't take her wanting to get back home very seriously as an audience. You're just like, okay, well, she's having a good time now. Okay, how does she get from there A to B? Just, you know, it was so rushed. You know, that you could definitely build that up over a couple of episodes that she warms up to it, and that would be probably the right way to do it. But you know, it just again, trying to build something up and there's no payoff, and that's just RTD, isn't it? Really. Well, he didn't build it up properly in this instance. That's also a problem.
No. I don't think her character is very. You can't warm to that character, and the actress playing her just strikes me as being a really nasty piece of work. So you just left feeling quite cold towards her, really.
Joe Chapman is saying the new companion was bitten by a wasp bitch. Thanks for that, Joe. I have to say as well, it's too early. I usually like a companion, like a doctor. I usually like a doctor by the end of his first episode. This has been the longest I've ever. I didn't like the David Tennant second version, and I don't like this one because it's not the doctor. A companion I usually is a little bit longer for me. So can you ask me again in a couple of weeks? Because at the moment I am really nonplussed about Belinda. She's not getting me either way. She's just there. She's just there. There's no character to her. Maybe it was because the way it was built up. I was expecting some sort of Tegan character. Get me home, get me home. That, and as you're saying, Ian, it's dropped. That's all gone already. So maybe next week by the well, ask me again, see what's going on. I don't know. At the moment, though, I'm really nonplussed. She hasn't registered with me.
Yeah, we haven't seen anything that makes her look like what makes her a good companion. We haven't seen anything that makes her A, likable, but B, why would she be a good companion for the Doctor to travel with? That's always important. What is it about their character that you can see why the Doctor would want to go traveling with them? And we haven't had that yet. And I get they wanted to start off with the whole kind of frothy vibe, which obviously didn't help her, and she came across as just nasty and just, as I say, insufferable. But even this episode, they just, as you say, she went into the background a little bit, and her character development just kind of grounded to a halt a little bit.
Ask us again. We're not. She's not even relevant enough for us to actually remember to talk about on the reviews. We didn't talk about her at all last week, and it was the first story, And now let's see where we're going with it. Let's see if we can remember to talk about her in the future, because at the moment, I preferred what's Millie's character, the one before?
Ruby.
I preferred her, to be honest, even though she was not that memorable rather. Jordan C from Belfast is with us. Why didn't they have me? He means Mel. I think you would be brilliant, though, Jordan, as the companion. Why didn't they have Mel as a full-time companion and reintroduce Bonnie Langford? It's a missed opportunity. Well, Mel is in this season, and she's in it very soon because she's in the Ruby Sunday one, isn't she? And then at the end of the season as well. But Bonnie is very busy. Would she give her full-time to Doctor Who now? Obviously not. Legion of James is saying the new companion is bland, insufferable carbon copy of toxic feminism girl boss. Marjorie is saying to us here, for me, the new companion is a complete beep. Belinda says Donkey the Funky Evans actually smiled this week and strangely was better, making Shooty worse again. Okay. Garbage.
I understand that was wind. I think that was when.
Come Back Millie says garbage. And Elliot Taylor is asking us, do we know what the Disney Plus ratings are? Are they as bad as the UK, or is Mickey hiding the numbers? We don't know what the Elliot, what the Disney Plus numbers are. And quite frankly, for us here on Whose Views, they are not a big thing for us to know, because we're a British channel and we're going to be looking at the effect in the home country here in the United Kingdom. However, if we do get our grubby little protuberances on them, we will report them, of course, in headlines. But they're very difficult to get a hold of. We tried last year. They were very difficult because they don't have to publish them apparently over there. It's very strange.
If they were good, though, they'd have been shouting about it, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
They do shout about it. I agree. And when they've got something to say, I remember when I think the first two parts episodes of the Obi-Wan series came out. Obviously, people were very, very hyped about watching that, and they did actually, if I remember correctly, they did reveal how many people viewed it, because so many people tuned in to watch. Obviously, it didn't end up being any good, but so I think they pick and choose when they want to present something.
A lot of you commenting about the new companion here, Belinda, as well. Come Back Martha says Sheila B in the Devotions. Martha was a brilliant character. That was an example of a memorable command. I remember Martha because I liked Martha. There was a sort of a connection from me as a viewer to Martha. I was quite protective of Martha because the Doctor was treating her like rubbish after, oh, Rose is gone, boo-hoo, boo. I couldn't stand all that nonsense. But I got more invested with Martha. And Barry Stroud, nice to see you, Barry. Do you think there's any chance it'll be dropped mid-season? No, I don't. No, I don't, because it's cost too much, and I think it will go on, and I think the BBC will commit to it some way. I think they will mess it around chronic in the schedules, but no, I think it will go to May the 24th. It has to, because that's the story. Always a stupid thing to do, isn't it? Given an actual date of broadcast, to say that's the date you've got to build up to. I always think that's a bit of a mistake, because then you are timed to that particular day. And at the moment, they're having a real problem with broadcasting episode 6, the song contest one, because of the football and Eurovision, which of course wouldn't have come into Russell's mind at the time.
No. Can I just say, go back a little bit to the bit about Bonnie Langford as well?
Bonnie,
if she had been available, I don't think they would have reintroduced her as a regular, because I genuinely think she would have embarrassed Gatwa. I think she would have acted him off the screen in every single scene they were in, like she did during the Sutek two-parter.
She did.
I think she's too good an actor for him. He's not got what it takes to hold the screen with her on it as well. I don't think they'd have done it. They'd have embarrassed him.
Yeah, she had more gravitas, more. More, I would say, natural charisma. She's a much more engaging person to watch than Shooty. You're right. She definitely will show him up.
I'm glad you said that, because Minkin too is saying to Jordan, no, just no. Bonnie Langford was insufferable in the 80s. Now I'm going to say, because I love Bonnie, because I've met her and I love Bonnie. She was wonderful. That's not Bonnie's fault. Again, she's an actor. I will blame at this particular point, as I did to his face, John Nathan Turner and the people that were writing, and the fact that they just did not develop her character properly, which was a trait in the 80s. They did it with Perry as well, and also to an extent Nissa and Tegan. They didn't develop Mel properly. They just had her in because she was the name. They just got her to scream all the time. Poor old Bonnie struggled with some really dodgy characterization, lack of, in the scripts. It wasn't Bonnie's fault. She did what she was told, and she said that in interviews, didn't she? In the hiatus period, you know, she turned up on set. The director said scream. She screamed. She went home with some money. That's an actor's job at the end of the day. But when you look at her in the new version, and I'm going to say this, well, Russell did write to Mel properly. She was brilliant and so much more toned down, and how she could be. And Bonnie is a cracking actor. I'll agree with John Nathan Turner about that. She's a cracking actor. She's wonderful, and she's so popular. Yeah, so I'm gonna defend Bonnie. Let's see though, because she's back in this series. She's back very soon. Stephen was saying everyone hated Bonnie Langford. She was always disliked by the public. She wasn't. She was huge with the British public. Everybody knew who Bonnie was. Unfortunately, they knew her for one role only, and that haunted her to this very bloody day. Really, I think EastEnders has actually helped, to be honest. Don't you?
I think probably has actually, but that Just William role, like you say, it followed her everywhere. It was in the same way that it didn't. Who was the guy? He did Minder, didn't he? What was he called? Dennis Waterman. I mean, he was Just William, wasn't he? In that.
Well, he's William's friend. It was one of William's friends.
Was it right? Well, it didn't follow him around, did it?
No, because he wasn't the star.
Yeah, but it did follow her around. It was a shame, really,
because she was so good, you know. And that line, which we won't quote, bless her. Raymond is saying that Millie Gibson is out because she upset RTD, allegedly. We'll get to know about that one day, I think.
We will.
And yeah, great. Well, listen, let's get on with some other aspects of the show while we're here, because I want to go to, before we go to all our usual stuff, I just want one more aspect of this. It comes to something, actually, when the Radio Times has to explain the episode for you. We were talking about this just a few minutes ago. Doctor Who, Lux ending explained. How did the Doctor defeat Mr. Ring-a-Dong-Ding? The Pantheon of Gods have returned. Beware, with new Doctor Who episode Lux comes a new addition to the Pantheon of Gods. In the latest episode, the Doctor and companion Belinda travel back to 1950s Miami, blah, 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 blah. But when they encounter a deserted cinema with 15 people missing and a menacing cartoon character who's come to life in the form of Mr. Ring-a-Ding, they know something's gone very wrong. Here's everything you need to know about what went down in Lux and how it ended. It's such a shame they have to explain this. Lux ending explained. How did the Doctor defeat Mr. Ring-a-Ding? The Doctor defeated Mr. Ring-a-Ding, also known as the God Lux, by giving him everything he wanted, light. Earlier in the episode, the creature revealed that he was in fact Lux, the god of light and one of the pantheon of gods. It revealed that light gives him power and allows him to grow. So when Belinda and Mr. Pye set up the rolls of film in the cinema, as we noted earlier in the episode, the celluloid in the film is explosive and blew open the walls to the outside. Lux was given so much light that he grew infinitely, becoming everything and nothing, light without end. Is that the end of Lux? It seems so for now at least, but it's worth noting that the character didn't actually die, making his end more than a little unsettling. In fact, Belinda notes that he actually becomes a god, invisible and intangible. So while we're not expecting to see Lux anytime soon, the possibility shouldn't be ruled out completely. There, so that's settled all that, hasn't it? That's perfectly clear now.
How can they say he's a god and then say he became a god?
Yeah.
It's like saying it's a dog and now it's become a dog. It already was.
And he would light already, wasn't it? From the, it came from the moonlight, and so before he manifested himself in physical form. So he's just returning. He already probably had seen the sunlight or whatever, before. It doesn't make any logical sense.
Asaya didn't write that as well, did she?
No, that was somebody else, one of the Radio Times people. Let me just find it again. Where was it? It was that one.
Was this a pseudonym?
This was Louise Griffin of the Radio Times.
Oh, right.
We've spoken about Louise's stuff before. Well, there you go. So all perfectly clear, everybody in the chat. Tim Kins is saying to us, can we also have a thoroughly skeptical explanation for the pronouns from Starbeast? No. Also out of date now after this week, of course, as well. Hopefully all that sort of nonsense is going to go out the window. And Armour Ray's with this thing. It reminds me at the end of The Ghosts of End Space. Don't think I've ever managed to get to the end of The Ghosts of End Space, but I'm going to have to. So thank you for that one. Farsight is saying, what a daft explanation. I don't know what to say. Well, that's Flux and Lux explained by the Radio Times. Shows how bad RTD's writing is, says Steve Braddock. At least RTD gave the Radio Times an explanation for this one, unlike 73 Yards, says Duncan Evans. Yeah. And light allows him to grow, says Julianne, like it does grass, which is infinitely more interesting. Pete Harrington's just joined us as well. All right, Lara, how are you? Nice to see you. It's that point of the show now, everybody, where we're going to go over to my Uncle Sydney. Now, if you're new to the show, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. And meet my Uncle Sydney. Now, my Uncle Sydney, a couple of years ago, built this thing called the Wokeometer out of some Ready-Bet boxes and some Butterbean Whip and an Angel Delight. It's fantastic. It's state-of-the-art AI technology all over there, isn't it, Uncle Sydney? Wind up the bucket. And what this does is it listens to what we're saying. It's studied everything you've said in the chat. It's also watched the episode, and now it's going to tell us out of 10 how woke it feels the actual episode was. So how woke was Lux? Uncle Sydney, are you ready? Yes. Then hit it. Oh, it's going to 8 out of 10, everybody, on the wokeometer. 8 out of 10. Is that fair, guys? Fair. What do you think?
I think that's fair.
You think that's fair?
I'm going to disagree. I actually personally thought it was actually one. I thought it was when it came to the races and stuff. As I said before, I thought it was actually relatively well handled for, especially from RTD anyway. Because my expectation would be going to be another Rosa kind of thing, which it wasn't, and the story was not around focused around segregation. So. And the way he handled it with the Doctor's attitude towards it versus the companion, I thought was actually a good way of differentiating the difference between the Doctor and the companion. So, but if you then include the fan bit, then that obviously that's a different thing. So yeah, I was thinking more like a 6 because I felt he handled one aspect well, but he did go, woke and taking the piss out of the fans in the meta stuff.
Well, tough.
I think it's fair. I think it's fair. I think the fan thing is a huge part of it, but with the references to segregation and everything else, I think that was the only reason that it was set in Florida, so they could do that. It was unnecessary. It was done for the sake of doing it, and you would only do that for wokeism. So I think I would probably agree with the 8 on that one. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Emilio, in the fact that when they referenced it relatively okay, probably better than they did in Rosa, to be fair. But I do think it was, you take that element out of it, and you could have put that in Oldham in 1952, or Southend in 1952, or anywhere on the face of the planet, some desolate spot like, I don't know, Dumfries in 1952. I don't know.
I agree, and it doesn't need to be set down. To be honest, I mean, it depends on which angle you want to go. You don't necessarily need to include the whole segregation. I think you can maybe have a visual cue very briefly that highlight that segregation was a thing without having to actually mention it. But I guess we've been so programmed for RTD to actually hit you on the nose with a sledgehammer that it was actually quite surprising that it was actually a very, very blunt one this time.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to Whose Views, to my sweet baby James, who's saying to us, why do people who hate the show watch it? Is it a British thing to love to spread misery? Yes, quite frankly it is, and we love it.
Well, I think my sweet baby James, I think when you've been invested in something like this for a long time, a huge part of it, 60 years, I think you have earned the right to comment about it, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Sorry, JT.
Totally. And what I would say to my sweet baby James is we are fans, and nobody's watching the show here in the United Kingdom now, apart from the rest of us, including those that are reviewing it for review purposes. I wouldn't say this is Doctor Who at all, and I'm bloody well going to have my say about it because I've spent a bloody fortune on this show over the last 40 years. I can assure you, I've been buying merchandise. Well, I've been getting merchandise from 5 and buying it since I'm a working age of 15. So that's why. And when I see it being treated the way it's being treated, I'm bloody well going to have something to say about it. So yes, and quite frankly, because we're British and because it's a British institution, which nobody outside the UK can understand, because we pay for the bloody thing as well, we have a right to say what's wrong with it. If they want to listen to us, they don't have to, as they don't. But I can tell you this, it's not long for the airwaves, it's coming off the air. I can assure you, it's not going to be around for long. Without the British public, there is no Doctor Who. It's as simple as that. What else we got to do now? Right. Okay. Oh, right. Okay. Yes. We talked about the crying game earlier. I want to get back into that right now because I want your predictions, Third Doctor, Ian and Emilio, for how many times you think the Doctor is going to cry in the next episode.
Well, we've been given a clue, haven't we? To at least one.
I'll say three. I'll say three.
Okay. Ian's going for 3 times that the Gatwa version of the Doctor will cry next week. Amelia, what are you going to go for?
Oh, I'm going to just for the fun. I'm going to be ballsy and say going to cry 4 times.
Oh, you're going to go 4. Yeah. Paul sent me in his as well. He said he was going to cry 3 times next week. I'm going to say he's going to cry 2 times next week. And yeah, we'll ask Miles. I'll ask Miles. I'll give Miles a little thing. We've got lots of you in the chat also going to tell us what they're going to be. Thank you so much for playing along to that. Coke-Load is saying 2 as well. Gosh, loads of you in the chat with this. Keep them coming in. Paul Round is saying, well said, JT. 36 years as a fan. I was furious about what's happened, but now it's just vague disinterest to see when it goes. There's lots of us at the time because we have to remember they did tell us as Doctor Who fans, you're not needed. Go touch grass. Called us everything, isphobe, ots. The way they've treated the fan base has been disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Lots of you in the chat with your how many times are you going to cry? Keep that coming. I'm going to look back at them after the show and see all that because we're going to move on now because we've still got a lot to get through, believe it or not. Because this next bit is one of the most important bits for us, everybody, because it is, of course, the ratings game. Where I asked the Who Tested panel and everybody in the chat, if you want to play along, the next episode of Doctor Who is called The Well. Next Saturday, broadcast on BBC One at 7:20, hitting the iPlayer at 8 a.m. As you know, we do not, the ratings game, take into account the iPlayer. It's the overnight rating we are interested in. Paul has sent his rating for the ratings game. He's predicting 1.7 million. So he's going higher with 1.7 million. Emilio, what are you going to do?
I'm going to go with 1.4.
Ooh. Emilio, who looked pained, is going lower.
It's sad to say.
With 1.4. Third Doctor Ian, what are you going to do? Higher or lower?
Definitely lower. I think the well will be full of Shooty's tears. I had a figure in my mind. Emilio's pretty much hit virtually on it. I had in my mind, and I will stick to 1.44.
Third Doctor Ian is also going lower with 1.44.
I think there's some football next week as well, which could, I think it's the semi-finals, which could, if it goes to extra time and penalties and stuff like that, then, you know, it could knock it back even further, which would be glorious, really. We'll have to see.
Ooh, I did not know that.
I think it is. I mean, Leeds aren't in it, so I'm only moderately aware, but, you know.
One day, Ian, one day.
Yeah, you never know. I'll just take promotion this year.
So that sort of confuses me now because I thought I knew what I was going to say. It's heartbreaking, isn't it, everybody, to say that it could go lower than 1.58. But I think it is going to go lower. And with that information from Ian, I'm going to stay for my prediction on the overnights next week of lower. but I'm going to go 1.3. Big jump, I know, but I'm going to go to 1.3 because I'm bearing in mind that the football you've just told me about, plus the fact that there's been a hell of a lot of bad publicity, and will be more to come this week. A lot of you in the chat with your scores. Thank you so much. Look at all that guys in there.
You can just see all the you can just see all the fans for RTD, all the trans fans clutching their balls, can't you? In agony at that 1.3. Ooh.
There is a hell of a lot of rating scores here. Thank you so much for joining us and putting all this in. We've still got scores on the TARDIS doors to come. Wow. Paul isn't ill. He's working, just to let you know, but thank you for inquiring. He's working tonight, so he couldn't meet with us. I can't read all these out because there's so many of them. So I'm going to look back at the chat later.
I think a lot of people put similar. They're saying 1.3, 1.4,
yeah.
1.5 million. I mean, I did see a 500,000. Now that would be a real shocker if that happened. But yeah.
Can I say, Jay?
Shelley's going to say it's going back up to 2. Could do. Go on, Ian.
Can I just say, JT, I've just seen one of the comments. It's not a ratings related thing, but it is quite poignant, really, I think, from a chap called Alan Riley. Okay. And if I may read it out, he says, I was bullied in school, and classic Doctor Who kept me from taking my own life. Oh, wow. Tom Baker was the best Doctor Who, and the classic series was the best. I just think that underlines what people could get, because that's not the first time I've heard people say things like that. Doctor Who, in some respect, was your friend. You know, you felt you had that friend. You carried, you know, in the back of your mind, what would the Doctor do, and things like that. And I'm glad Alan had that at that time, and it kept him from going down that darker path. I'm really pleased about that, and I'm really happy that we're able to share that as well.
Absolutely. I've just found that. I want to say hello to Moondust, who's joined us. Hello, Moondust. Welcome to Who's Views. And Alan, welcome to Who's Views. I've just found you here. Yes, I'm sorry that you got into that particular state as well. That's always a concern. Hopefully everything is fine with you now. Welcome to Who's Views. Come and join us. We've got several shows through the week, and of course every Sunday with your big show. So come and see us. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. A lot of us were actually picked on at school because we were Doctor Who fans.
Yeah, you know? Totally. Yeah.
I wonder if you know, it's terrible to think about it now, isn't it? Really, but you know, goodness me, what we all went through back then. Lots of people showing support to Alan there as well. You're all welcome. Thank you to coming to Who's Views. Thank you for being part of the Who's Views family. Lots of you in the chat with your ratings. Keep that coming up. I'm going to go through those after the show, because there was a lot of them there, but I really appreciate that.
It's funny, isn't it, really? Because, you know, like you say, quite a lot of us were bullied at school for liking classic Doctor Who, and we were. I certainly was, and everything. And they're trying the same now, aren't they? If you don't like what you're being served up now and you prefer classic Doctor Who, you're under assault again. It's like the same knuckle draggers have resurrected themselves, and they're trying to do the same thing all over again, and they'll fail again, just like they've
always said. These people are exactly what they preach not to be. They are exactly that. But you know what? We're older now and uglier and wiser, and we can take them on. Thank you for all your ratings. That was the ratings game. And as I say, I'll go through all those and I'll make a note of them all. But thank you so much for taking the time to put them in there. Oh, gosh, really appreciate it. Great to see you. Don't forget to give us a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you have already subscribed to the channel, make sure you still subscribe to the channel. Scores on the TARDIS doors is coming up. Don't put them into the chat yet, because I can't see them. You're going too quickly. But that just gives us like, where are we going to next? Who can say? Well, they can. We're going to The Well, everybody. Well, that's a shocker, isn't it? Ha ha ha. Yes. The next episode of Doctor Who, episode 3, is called The Well. We will be here on Sunday, the 27th of April at 8 o'clock, live as ever with the Whotastic panel, with all our views, with hopefully all of you and your views. Let's see what they've got in store for us on that one, eh? Oh God, really? God, can this thing get up again? Can it really? Will it get some Viagra down it? I don't know. Let's see what's going to happen. We're going to do scores on the TARDIS doors. Last week, of course, it was the Robot Revolution. It scored 12.5 out of 50. There were 5 of us on the panel, so 12.5 out of 50. Okay. Oh my goodness. Let's start with the scores on the TARDIS doors. Start putting your scores in now, as we do the video. Right, great. Chris Graham is saying to us that the trailer for The Well looked good. I have to say it did. And that's what's leading me to think, please don't even, because I'm thinking, oh, this looks good. And I might get let down. Do you know what I mean? I'm a bit worried about it, guys, because it does look quite good. And
I can't imagine anything of Russell T Davis's building you up with excitement and then letting you down. Surely not.
And Coclud is saying the next one doesn't look very good based on the trailer. Again, love this balance here. This is lovely. Very, very good. And Stephen Braddock is saying, I was bullied rotten over it at school. Oh, gosh. Well, I'm glad everybody's okay and we've all got through and we are here for your scores on the TARDIS doors. I'm going to start with Third Doctor Ian. What is your score on the TARDIS door for looks?
Okay, well, last week I felt that my sort of like demographic was the figure of hatred, straight white male. And this week, as a Doctor Who fan, you're the target again. I don't like being targeted in what was
fair enough
my most favorite program ever. So as the abuse has been consistent, my score will be consistent and I will give it half.
Oh, half. I hate the halves because I don't know how to add them up. Emilio, what are you giving looks on the scores on the TARDIS door? It's out of 10, actually, everybody, as well. Just remember, it's out of 10. What are you going to give it, Emilio?
Well, I felt generous, probably too generous last week, I think I gave a 4 out of 10, which I don't know why. I probably would reverse it and probably give a 2 or 3 now.
You gave a 4 last week, yeah.
If we're talking about this week's episode, well, I enjoyed the first 15 to 20 minutes up until the point when they went into the meta kind of reality, and then from there it was just a pile of crap. So I'll give it 5 out of 10 because technically I kind of enjoyed half of the episode and I definitely hated the second half of the episode, and it was just disappointing that the kind of good setup and the atmosphere that had been built up, they just threw a potentially good episode of Doctor Who away. So again, by my standards, 5 is kind of slightly below average, basically.
Fair enough. Again, Paul has messaged in with his score on the TARDIS door, and he's giving it 3 out of 10. A 3 out of 10. As I say, this was meh. Another meh for me. I didn't like it. I just didn't like. Last week I gave the Robot Revolution a 2 out of 10. Because of the look of the thing and because of all the hard work people have done and because it looked quite good. This one for me didn't look as good, and I'm going to give it a 1 out of 10 simply for Linus Roach, who was absolutely wasted. But it was between that and a 0, and I couldn't quite decide what to do. But because Linus was in it, I'm giving it a 1. There you go, 1 out of 10. Let's get into the chat. Thank you. You're all there. Let's get on with it. Legion of James, the score. Yes, I watched it, unfortunately. And sorry, it doesn't even qualify for a 0. It's not Doctor Who. 0, it's not Doctor Who, says Garbage. Is that coming up on the screen? There it is.
Yeah.
To us, 3. Okay, I'm back with you. 3. Jules Sherwood is saying 3 out of 10. Thank you very much. Matt the Silent Wee Music King is saying negative infinity out of 10. Robert Payne is saying 2. Okay, Julie Wendy, 1.5. Hi to Peter. Hello, Peter. Nice to see you.
Hi, Peter.
Hello, nice to see you. Woodhouse 122, 3 out of 10. Peter Venkman fansite is saying that it was more of the same. Wild Hunter is giving it 3. Bill Lowry is giving it 3. Douglas Smith is. Oh, I thought we had another high one for a second. Another 9 out of 10 for Who's Views. Thank you, Douglas Smith. That's great to see.
Nice.
Thank you. Duncan the Funky Evans is giving this a 3 out of 10. John Roberts
is that a minus 3? Was that a minus 3?
Minus 3 from Duncan.
Maybe.
Minus 3. It was a minus 3 from Duncan the Funky Evans. Yeah. John Roberts 2.0. PTA is saying 0. Minus 10 out of 10 says Digby Strawbridge. Is this coming up? Is everybody okay?
Yeah.
Is it getting to that time here in the UK where they switch the lights off? Can you hear me?
We can.
It has been a bit.
Anybody there? Can you hear me?
Down. Yes, we can. Yes.
Hello, can you hear me? Are we there? Am I there?
We are here. Can you hear us?
Yes. I can hear you, Amelia. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Ian. Fine. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm getting some interference here. I don't know what's going on, but here we go. Can you? I'm going to carry on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Digby Strawbridge, a minus 10 out of 10. Killbot, 2 out of 10. Ding Dong Bell, Shooties in the Well, says Julia.
Oh, I think JT froze, Ian.
Subject.
He has. Oh, he's back. He's back. He's back.
I don't know what's happening with this at the end of the show now. I don't know what's happening with this. I seem to be losing a connection. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's the platform we're on or if it's my internet connection. I'm not sure. I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the show now, everybody. Sorry about this, but I seem to be having a major problem with what is going on. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Right, we're going to call it. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. If it's the platform, we use StreamYard. If it's them, I don't know what's happening. If it's my internet connection, I do not know. I use PlusNet. If it's you, I want to know what's going on. Peter, thank you so much for your super chat. Ouch out of 10, 0 out of 10. So thank you very much. Wild Hunter also saying it's pointless giving this score. It's not Doctor Who. Lots of you were there, actually. Let's try this again because it is a bigger part of the show. This a solid 0. 1 out of 10 says the Lady Knightsbridge. I had low expectations of looks and Mr. Dingaling, and it didn't disappoint. Bring back Rachel Reeves as showrunner. What? What? Who's this? This is is that RNAFC? Nice to see you. 8 out of 10. Thank you very much for joining us. Not seen you before. Welcome. Yeah. We've got 1 out of 10 from David Gulvin. Fan stuff will never be forgiven. Philip is giving it a 4 out of 10. Silver Wolf is saying lots of zeros there. Paul Schlaufter is saying, I thought this was a better episode compared to, all of the previous ones. Yes, some annoying bits like Velma, Babes, the fans. I'm going to say 6 out of 10. That's probably too generous. What else have we got here? 5 out of 10 from Georgia Donald. Sheila B in the devotions, 4.5 out of 10. James Vermerk is saying it was good, JT. It could have been more, but it was good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's the thing. Peter Harrington, 5. It had potential. Then 3 fans hit the... Yeah. Tyler Durdlin was also saying 3 out of 10. Whose Views is a joyous lifeline for me. Thank you so much, guys. Stephen Braddock. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us. That's really nice. Appreciate it. Yeah. Hashtag don't make me laugh, says Peter. Oh no, it's going again. Okay. This is what happens when the warmer weather gets up, I can tell you. 1 for Linus Roach, says Raymond Williams. I'd give it a 7 out of 10, says Timeslip. 7 for Linus Roach, 1 for Lux, says Marjorie. 4.5, says Elliot. Coclud, 7 out of 5. Dalek Lives Matter, 3 out of 10. Farsight is giving Lux a generous 3. -8 out of 10, says the Peter Venkman fan site. Anthony Green, I gave RR 6.5 out of 10. Robot Revolution. This could have been a 7, but the meta nonsense brought it down to 5.5. Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jordan C, it feels much more like what maybe types. It feels much like what maybe the type of series will continue to follow. 2 for Mr. Roach, says Joe Chapman. 4 out of 10 from Chris Graham. What else we got here? The ratings are going down that well. They really are. 1 out of 10 says Mike Disney for Jumping the Shark. 6.5 from James Vermook. Thank you, James. Glad you enjoyed it, James. 3 out of 10 from Paul Rose for effects, some fun, and a promising initial idea. He has some really good ideas. You just can't write it. Steve Hindley is saying, obviously, a 0 out of 10. Fun fact, Shockeye played Mel's father in Just William. Yes, he did, didn't he? John, he did. Of course he did. Yeah. We need to look at that at some point. Yes, he did. The Lady of Chark, and it's lovely to see you. 7 out of 10 marks off for the Doctor Who fans. Robert Calvert, 7.5 due to fan baiting. Kev Gresham, 2 out of 10.
I think Matt Burrows gave it a 1 out of 10 as well.
And Lex Kane is saying 1 out of 10 just for Linus Roach. Everything else was not Doctor Who to me. Plus my nephew Luke, who is 12, says 1 out of 10 for being too preachy. He enjoys classic Who. He likes Inferno and the Third Doctor and the Fourth Doctor. Well, he's very sensible, isn't he?
Yeah,
very sensible. Marjorie is saying 10 out of 10 for us at Who's Views. Thank you, Marjorie, for that. George is saying 5 out of 10. Awful pacing. That fan moment was way too long and unnecessary. And Armour Ray is saying 1, as always, for the tech crew who work hard or hardish and have to put up with RTD. And not anymore because they've all gone. I bet they're relieved. And Rob Alexander is saying 6 out of 10 for looks and 10 out of 10 for Who's Views. Oh, that is so kind of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's nice.
Killbot Kill is saying 2 out of 10. Wow, this is great.
Quite a mix.
Lots of you with this one. Thank you. Yeah, a real mix actually this week. Jane Smee was saying 5. Did I say that one? Thank you everybody for this. Pete Harrington, 5 for me. It had potential. Oh yeah, we sort of got that one, didn't we? Where else are we up to? Let's have a look. Here we go. 4 out of 10 from Philip. 1 out of 10 from David Gulvin. Any more for any more? Joe Chapman. It's bedtime now. Yes. Excuse me. 6 out of 10 from Minkin 2. Thank you very much. And yeah, RTD was after me. Yes, that's right. Thank you for that, everybody. No, thank you, Moondust. Glad you're okay. Was there any more for everybody? 6 out of 10 for looks from Rob Alexander, but 10 for us. That's very nice. And for you guys as well. Thank you all for joining us. Derek Hart, 4 out of 10. Rory and Cheryl, 3 out of 10. It's very mixed, as you're saying, guys. It really is. Digital Pollution, 2 out of 10. Paul Rose, 3 out of 10 for effects. Some fun and the basic kernel of a good idea. I think we had that one before. I'm not sure. Marine Boy, 66. That's push 4 out of 10, and that's only for Mr. Ring-a-ding-ding-ding-ding.
And Tinkins are given a 10 out of 10 for Lux. It's a high quality soap.
Yeah, I just see that. That's brilliant. You'll be getting a box in the post, won't you, Tim Kins? Yes, you will. 10 out of 10 for the lads tonight, says Steve Hindley. Thank you very much. And it's 100 out of 10 for Who's Views from Duncan Evans. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm glad you like it. Really do. Sean Cryer is saying exclamation mark out of 10. Yes, Diana Dawes was Violet's mum, the legend piece, wasn't she? She was a legend. Oh, Diana Dawes, what a legend.
Diana Dawes, yeah, wow.
A friend of mine met her and worked with her. Can you believe it? Isn't that fab?
Wow.
Philip is saying, Who's Views 10 out of 10. Thank you very much. Oh, my goodness. And I think we're going to call it there for everybody. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us here on the show tonight. Really, really appreciate it. Don't forget, we are back in the week with headlines. We will be looking at the ratings analysis with Bedweer this week. Stay with us. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you have already subscribed to the channel, I have to keep saying this. Please make sure you still subscribe. Give us a like. Do everything you know you need to do. But more importantly, come and join us again, because it's our views, it's your views, it's Who's views. So thank you very much for coming and joining. What a great chat. Third Doctor Ian Amelia, well done. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you. Great
really
fun.
Good.
Great fun. Yeah.
And let's do it all again next time as we go down the well, shall we, everybody? Oh, fingers crossed it's something good. I really want to have a show where we can say, oh, this was Doctor Who. Will it be the well? Let's find out, everyone. Until we see you next time on the show, thank you for your input. Thank you for everything. Keep in touch. whosviews1@gmail.com. We'll see you again in the week. Ta-ra, everybody. Good night.
Good night.